judge's name. My wife knew the judge.
Okay.
And kind of thought that was what the case might have been about. But I myself, as far as having any recollection of this, I do not.
Okay. So
Very minimal.
okay. What at most? What do you think that, whether it's correct or not? What do you think you've heard about the case?
Just about the infant, dying in the vehicle, and that was basically it.
Okay. Do you remember the relationship of any defendants or anybody to the child? Okay. Do you remember anything about what was going on that day or where these acts specifically occurred?
Sure don't.
Okay. All right. So I don't want to assume anything, but would that in any way affect your ability to be fair to both sides in this case, knowing that minimal amount? All right. Thank you, sir.
You said that you raised your hand because your wife knew the judge.
Yes.
And what you mean by that is that your wife recognized the judge's name?
Well, as far as the case, yes.
Okay.
But my wife keeps up with things a lot more than I do.
Okay. So has your wife talked to you about what she has read or seen about the case?
The only thing that I know, and the only thing I believe my wife knows, is just about the infant dying in the vehicle. Anything other than that, we haven't discussed anything. And honestly, until she even said that, I have no recollection of this at all.
Okay. All right. So do you believe that if chosen to sit on this jury that you could wait until all of the evidence was in, the evidence from both sides, before you made your decision?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to excuse you till October 3rd at 9 a.m. Come back then to the jury assembly room. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss the matter with anyone. Let anyone speak with you about the case. Absolutely no exposure of any sort to anything to do with this case, outside of you physically being in this courtroom. See you on October 3rd. Thank you. Let's have juror 6.
Thanks, sir.
Good afternoon again, or afternoon for the first time. I think we said good morning earlier. All right, juror number 6. We got you back just for, you answered a few things that we want to follow up about it individually, okay? Kind of starting with the starting point of the judge asked some questions when we first started, like when everybody came in about certain things. One of them that you raised your hand about was whether or not you had formed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence of the accused in the case. And I believe you raised your hand, correct? Okay. Now, what's that? Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you have an opinion in this case? Did you come in here with an opinion as to guilt or innocence?
Oh, really? I don't even know what anybody done or not.
Okay. Do you remember why it was that you raised your hand at that point?
Because everybody has an opinion of everything.
Right.
And then you get an opinion, but you can't really, prove.
Right. So what you're saying is, you know, that while you may have an opinion, there's still got to be proof. Okay. Did you actually have an opinion at the time, or okay? All right.
I didn't hear the answer.
I think he shook his head no, Judge. So I know, again, we got to ask you to answer out loud, okay? Okay, I think you stated you had heard some stuff in the media about the case, and then I think your family members had voiced some opinions or something of that nature. Tell me about that. Starting with the media, go ahead.
My boss did. That's about it. My boss.
Okay. With the media, have you seen anything in the news about it, or seen anything online or anything of that nature? Okay, so you don't know anything about it from that. Okay. Your boss, what did your boss tell you about it?
You want to know?
Yeah, well, let's. Hey, we've heard everything in here. Don't think we haven't heard anything because it's not going to be the craziest. We've had some pretty entertaining answers since we've been in here. So go ahead and tell me what the boss said.
He said he's guilty, death penalty, and all that.
Okay. Would that in any way influence you as being a juror? Haven't heard that from him.
I don't care what he says.
Okay. All right. Have you had any family members express any opinions?
Not really, because like none of my family really stays with the news and all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. When your boss told you, he gave you those opinions, what did he tell you facts about it, or what are the most amount of facts that you know about this case at this
I don't
point?
know anything.
Okay.
He was just running his mouth.
Okay. So you don't know anything about? Do you know anything about the defendant's relationship to the victim? Okay, so you don't even know anything about that. You don't know any of the details of where the stuff allegedly occurred. Okay. And nothing about what was going on that day, correct? All right. Just a couple of other things you'd raise your hand on. The defense had asked you if you would have a problem being fair and impartial because the case involved photographs of a deceased child. Tell me about that. Why did you raise your hand about that?
I mean, I ain't got a problem, but I don't think anybody wants to see a dead child.
I agree. So it was just like, let me ask you this.
That's just my point of view, my opinion.
Right. Is that based on any personal experiences or anything like that, or is it just a general, like most people, they don't want to see pictures of a dead kid?
It's just a general. Opinion.
But if there were photographs and you were required to take into consideration the evidence in the case, would you follow the judge's instruction and the evidence in the courtroom and do what you need to do?
Yeah. That's right.
All right. That's all I have, Judge.
Hey, your boss who talked to you and said he's guilty and death penalty, is that that's the boss that you work for now? Okay. And are you telling us, well, let me back up a step and ask, did he explain to you why that was his opinion?
No, sir. He was just running his mouth that day.
Okay.
When I told him I had to come for a jury hearing, he was asking me, and I was like, I don't know, I just told him what happened, So he was just running his mouth.
Okay. Not to get you in trouble with your boss, but does he kind of do that sometimes,
Yeah,
run his mouth?
He's that kind of person.
Okay, all right. You mentioned a coworker who I think got online to meet some women to kind of have to run around a little bit. Is that the same person? Not? Okay. And then when Mr. Boyd was talking to you, he said, ask you if you believe that there still has to be proof, and you agreed with that.
Yes, sir.
There has to be proof.
I mean, if somebody did something wrong, there has to be proof that he did something.
Okay.
I mean, you can't just say he did something and then he gets a jail order or whatever.
Right. And if you were told that it's the state's burden to prove it, you could follow that, right? You can make the state prove it if it was their burden.
Yeah,
Okay, if they could.
if they could.
Okay. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Judge, I think there's one question I forgot to follow up on. I'm sorry, sir. I think you said you knew somebody or were aware of somebody who had forgotten a child somewhere before. Tell me about that.
It was my mom, and she actually left her dog in there for a couple minutes.
Okay.
She said she remembered it. It was a dog.
Okay. Now, it sounds like. I'm sorry. So she forgot the dog, or did she just leave the dog to run in a store for a minute?
Went into the store.
Okay.
She said she forgot her.
Mm-hmm.
She came in, I mean, she went in there for 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. We got you. All right. Thanks, sir.
No problem.
I'm going to excuse you now. Return on October 3rd at 9 a.m. for jury selection. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with anyone or let anyone speak with you, and have absolutely no information come to you about this case except when you're inside this courtroom at the appropriate time. Thank you, you're excused. All right, let's have juror 7. That's
lady
right.
was excused.
Has that been accomplished and taken care of?
Yes.
Okay. Juror 8. And how about juror 10, juror 9, did that get taken care of?
Filled out the proper paperwork.
So both of them have been excused because they opted because of their age.
Okay, good, good.
Good afternoon, sir. Good. Okay, we just got a couple of other questions to talk to you about, okay? That we've been asking everybody just in private, or as private as we can get. The judge asked a couple of questions early on when we started, regarding people's ability to be fair and impartial, kind of things like that. And I think the first question she asked, you raised your hand on. And so I want to go ahead and talk about that a little more and explore that, okay? I think you raised your hand about whether, she asked if anybody had formed and expressed an opinion as to this case. Now, what the question we're going to be asking now is, obviously we all come in here with opinions about things, about the world, even sometimes we've heard about cases. That doesn't necessarily disqualify you. What we need to determine is if you are selected as a juror, you can put aside whatever you've heard in the media, true or not, or whether you've heard from third parties, family members, whatever, and follow the law that the judge gives you and consider only the evidence in this courtroom. So kind of from that starting point, would you be able to do that?
Honestly, I don't think they'll be able to.
Okay.
I just don't think they could.
Okay, and tell me what your, I guess if they're certain things relevant to you, or if it's just a generalized dislike for a murder case.
Honestly, since a child, I don't see any excuse for a child being left in a car.
Okay.
I just don't. There's a reason for that.
Okay. Starting with that, if you were selected as a juror, would you require the state to prove that that actually happened?
Yeah, I guess, yes, but I guess so. I mean, I'd be part of it, I reckon, but
Okay.
I want to say anybody can have an excuse for doing that.
Okay.
And I honestly don't. I raised 2 boys, I got 2 grandbabies. I just don't see how it could happen.
Okay.
You know?
Let me ask you this. Is this opinion that you have about, not understanding how it could happen to anybody, is that something in general or is it specific to this defendant?
No, it's in general.
Okay. So do you have any prejudice or bias or opinion about this defendant's guilt?
You know, so it's nothing personally.
Okay.
I just don't see how anybody, I mean, it's been a lot of cases over the last few years, and I'm just amazed. I just don't understand it.
Okay. So this generalized opinion you have about the people doing that, when you heard the facts of the case, I know you have your opinion about this coming in generally. Would you apply the law that the judge gives about the case and the crimes charged to the facts proven in this case? And only follow that and only render a decision based on the elements of the crimes as to the facts of the case?
I know opposed to, I don't know if I'll be able to.
Okay.
You know, but she said be honest about it, and I'm totally honest.
Absolutely, and we're not looking for any particular answer. We just want to get to, because there is a legal standard, and we want to get as much information from you as possible to determine, whether you're qualified. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I guess with that, understanding you have this general opinion, would you be able to, you think, apply whatever the facts come out as to what happened in this specific case to the law that the judge gives you?
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. I believe this would be the 3rd time that he's asked the same question. He's gotten a no twice, and so I believe that it would be inappropriate to continue to ask this question until he gets an answer that he's looking for.
Judge, I don't believe he's answered no yet, A. B, I believe the defense has rephrased questions several times as well, trying to get to the heart of what the witness is saying and how it applies to this case.
You can proceed.
Thank you. Okay, so considering all of that, would you, do you think, be able to apply not just your generalized opinion about whether somebody can do this, but apply the facts that come out in this case about this type of situation, this specific situation, to the law that the judge gives on the crimes he's charged with?
I don't think it could, no.
Okay. Let me ask you this, that opinion that you have, is it so fixed and definite that you would not be able to put it aside?
I think so.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Do you want to ask?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to excuse you until October 3rd at 9 a.m. for jury selection. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with anyone. And wrap yourself in a bulletproof vest from head to toe regarding anything about this case. No conversations with anyone. No, if somebody starts to talk to you about it, run and get away from them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
What day is that again, the ninth?
No, the
Third?
3rd.
Okay. Thank you.
3rd, it'll be a Monday,
All right.
9 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be 2 weeks from yesterday.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I must be right, I didn't get corrected. Let's have juror 9, 10.
Good afternoon. Long time no see. All right. We just have a few other questions to follow up with you on, okay? The judge had asked some questions early on about certain things, and so like what you know about the case, things of that nature, what you may not know about the case. And so we're kind of starting from there just to ask a couple of questions individually, okay?
Okay.
All right, kind of the starting point, the judge had asked, I believe, does anybody have an opinion about guilt or innocence in this case? And I think you raised your hand. Okay. And a lot of people come into this courtroom with opinions in life, maybe opinions on this case. People may have heard things, maybe not. We don't ask you to come in here in a vacuum and not have heard things and form certain opinions. What we have to know is, and what we have to find out is, you're going to be asked if you're seated as a juror that to render a verdict, you have to do so only on the evidence that comes out in the courtroom, simply as applied to the law that the judge gives. And put aside what you've heard and only base it on what actually comes out in the courtroom applying the law from the judge. Would you be able to do that?
I don't know that I can do that.
Okay. And we're not asking you, we're not going to ask you to come in here and give us some percentage or something like that. Let me ask you this. Would you do your best? I'm not asking any, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just know how I feel.
Okay. And how is it that you feel?
I just cannot see leaving a child in the car.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, and you don't have to apologize for that. People come in here with certain opinions. What we have to know, first of all, that opinion, is that something that's specific to this defendant, or just in general, you have that opinion about just anyone?
About anyone.
Okay. If you were selected as a juror, would you be able to come into the courtroom and presume the defendant innocent and make the state prove that these acts have actually happened that have been alleged?
But I know that, I mean, I don't know. I cannot say. I really can't.
Okay.
I don't want to lie and say that.
No. We don't want you to lie. We want you to just be as honest as possible with us. How you feel is how you feel. There's no right or wrong answer, okay? So don't feel like you're doing anything wrong by just telling us how you feel, okay? So just tell me a little bit. First of all,
Well, I have children. I have children. I have grandchildren. There's no way that I would ever forget that they were in the car.
yes, ma'am. I understand that. And let me ask you this. You understand that in a case like this, just because one of the things we're looking, do you have any specific personal experience involving death of a child or something like that that would give you problems being fair and impartial?
No, sir. I mean,
Okay. And just for the record, you're yeah, I understand. Let me ask you, what have you heard in the media?
I've just heard that he was left in the car all day long. That they went through the drive-through, was left in the car. But I mean, That's the main thing. I mean, I just can't get past that. I mean, if you need me to serve, that's fine. I just cannot say that I can just go on evidence. I mean, I just don't see how it's possible.
So,
I mean, anybody, you know, and if it's his child and he was taking him to daycare and he didn't go to daycare, how can you forget a child and go to work?
and that is a general opinion that you have about anything, anybody that this would happen
I
to?
mean, I'm not blaming just, I'm saying anybody that did that.
Okay, so your issue is not specifically with this defendant, it's just in general?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you, if the judge instructed you that, that you had to follow the burden of proof and things like that, and the state had to prove that these things happened, would you require the state to prove that?
I'm sorry.
No, no problem.
I mean, I would listen to what they had to say. I mean, I can't say for sure. I mean, like I said, I just can't get past the whole, that baby being left in the car.
Okay.
And I don't know what else is.
Okay, let me ask you one
I'm not answering the question, right?
No, it's not a right or wrong. These answers are your answers, and no matter what you think, they're not right or wrong. They're your answers, and that's always the right answer, okay? Let me ask you this. If it were, you had evidence brought to you in the courtroom, and I know you had this opinion about somebody leaving your child in the car. If the judge instructed you on these crimes that he's charged with, and what the law is, and what we have to prove, what the state has to prove for these acts to meet certain crimes, would you follow the law as to what those crimes are?
Judge, I'm going to object again. I apologize, but I think he's re-asking the same question. And I believe she's answered this question, Judge.
It's within my discretion. I'm going to let him just
Okay.
continue.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, I don't know if I asked you that specific one about applying the laws to the actual acts, but do you remember what I just asked you? All right, let me ask it again. Okay. You come in here forming, you have an opinion about these specific types of acts. Let me ask you this. Are there other types of acts of crimes that you don't, you have an opinion, you don't see how people could do that?
Well, no, I don't see how anybody can hurt anybody.
Okay.
But
And so kind of, right.
child,
But it's like any way of injuring a child, you can't understand how somebody would do that, correct?
they're defenseless.
Right. In those cases like that in general, would you require, if somebody was charged with it, for the state to prove that that actually happened, that somebody did actually hurt that child?
I'm so sorry, I can't.
No, and these aren't easy questions. And we're not trying to get an easy answer. What we're wanting are your answers to see kind of where you fit, okay? And with that,
I can listen to what you have to say, if that's what you're saying.
yes. And let me ask you this then. Go ahead. Well, kind of the follow-up before we got interrupted, the question I'd asked was, you have your opinion generally about this issue, about a child being forgotten in the car. If it is proven, basically, with the facts, whatever the facts are that come out in the courtroom about that happening, not happening, whatever, would you apply what the law is to that type of act? Would you basically come in and listen to what the judge says and what has to be proven to not just say that this happened, should or shouldn't happen, but whether it fits a crime? Would you listen to the law on that?
I mean, I would listen to it, but I don't know that I would agree with it.
Okay.
Is that answer?
That's an answer. Okay. If you were selected as a juror, and I know you have these opinions and things like that, and nobody wants to have to hear this type of stuff, would you do your best to limit your decision to the stuff in the courtroom, the evidence that comes out, and the law of the judge?
I would try.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, I know this is difficult for you and awkward. You raised your hand indicating when the judge asked you that you had formed and expressed an opinion as to guilt or innocence, and I take it from what we're talking about, you have the opinion that he's guilty. Yes, sir. Okay. Don't worry about hurting anybody's feelings. Okay. I know seems incredibly awkward, but that's why we're doing this part of it in private, okay? All right. So when you raised your hand and you indicated that you formed and expressed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence, you're telling us now that opinion is that he's guilty.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree that since yesterday, when you answered that question, you haven't heard any evidence?
No, sir.
You haven't seen any evidence? You haven't heard any testimony? So nothing's happened to change that opinion? All right. So as we sit here right now, that's still your opinion that he's guilty? Is that fair? Okay. And if I understand correctly, what you were telling Mr. Boring is you just don't feel like you're going to be able to set that opinion aside when you're making your decision? Okay. And just for the record, no, sir, meaning you agree with me that you're not going to be able to set that opinion aside?
I agree.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to excuse you till October 3rd at 9 a.m. for jury selection. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss the matter with anyone or let anyone speak with you about it. And absolutely no exposure is permitted of any media or electronic or anything out there about this case. It's just to be absolutely a glass wall, and nothing can come to you except in this courtroom when we are doing our work. Thank you. Juror 11.
Good afternoon. All right, we didn't have to talk to you too long when you were in here earlier, and this shouldn't be much longer, okay? Just a couple of questions to follow up on regarding some questions that were asked you by the judge when we first started, okay? About your familiarity with the case and things of that nature. It appears that you've heard something about the case either from friends or the media or family or something. So what we're going to be asking you, you raised your hand saying that you have already informed some opinion in the case. Now, as a juror, nobody comes in here without having prior life experiences, opinions, even having heard things about cases and things like that. What we have to determine and what we need to know is simply whether or not you can take whatever it is you've heard or form, whatever you or think aside, and if asked to be a juror, just simply follow what the evidence is that comes out in the courtroom and render a verdict based on the law that the judge gives you. Do you think you'd be able to do that? Okay. And there's no right or wrong answer. Don't worry about that. We just need to explore that a little bit, okay? And you say you don't know. Did you come in here with an opinion?
Yes.
Okay. And is that opinion specific to this defendant?
Yes.
Okay. And what is that based on?
Just what I've heard.
Okay.
Like news.
And do you have an opinion? What is your opinion?
There's guilt. I just don't know where it lies.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. If you were selected as a juror, I know you said you don't know if you'd be able to put that opinion aside. Let me ask you this. Would you be able to listen to the evidence and require the state to prove the acts actually alleged in each count of the indictment? Would we have to show that that actually happened?
I'm not too sure. I can be swayed.
Okay. And when you say swayed, what do you mean? Swayed from your opinion now? Okay. And tell me a little bit about what you know about it, what you think you know from the media that has swayed you that way.
Just,
Or it could be friends or family. I'm just assuming maybe it's the media, but.
child was left in the car.
Mhm. Okay. Do you,
Just, I don't see how that can happen.
now, if you were selected as a juror, while you have that opinion, would you be able, if you were selected as a juror, to put that aside and listen to what the evidence is from the totality of it, like the whole case, everything in it, to listen before you make a judgment in here based on the evidence in this case? Would you be able to do that?
I'd listen to it,
Okay. You don't know. Okay. Other than hearing that a child was left in the car, do you know any other details, or what have you heard about the case that you can actually remember?
that's all I recall.
Okay. So is your specific opinion, is it about anybody that would leave a child in the car?
Pretty much.
Okay. And would you, I guess, would you agree that there are several things that could happen? You hear in the media, acts that happen that you're like, I don't know how somebody could do that?
Right.
Okay. In those type of cases, and like in this case, would you require that it be proven that these acts actually happened?
What was the question?
Okay. I know it's difficult because I'll tell you right now, we're not trying to get an answer from you that's like, okay, this is what we're looking for. Your answers are your answers, okay? At a starting point, we have the indictment, and the judge has told you that's not evidence or anything. We have to prove everything that is alleged in that indictment actually happened. Okay. Would you require the state to prove those things that are in the indictment actually happened before you rendered a verdict? Okay. Your opinion that you come in here with, I think you said, is it general, just general for anybody who this would happen to, not just this defendant?
Right.
Do you have any prejudice or bias against this defendant?
No.
Do you have any opinion about this, the defendant's guilt or innocence, that is so fixed and definite that you could not listen to the evidence and follow the law?
It would be hard for me.
Okay. And even though it would be hard, would you be willing to listen to the evidence and follow the law?
I couldn't say.
Okay. Would you do your best?
I would do my best.
And is your concern about sitting as a juror in this instance, is it just that one thing, that general issue about leaving a child in the car?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I think he said. Okay. Let me ask you another question that came up as well. You said that there's some for you that asked a question about, whether there's a moral, philosophical, religious reason, things like that you would not be able to sit in judgment of another person and render a verdict. Okay, now moving on to that, aside from the opinion of guilt, is there a reason you would not be able to, or would you be able to render a verdict in this case? Or is there something from your religion or moral philosophy in your life that you will not be able to follow the law and the evidence and render a verdict just based solely on that?
I don't feel like I'm the right person to judge another person.
Okay, and let me piggyback on that. Because of that, do you think you would be unable to, when it comes time to decide whether he's been proven guilty or not guilty, do you think that that belief would prevent you from following the evidence in the law? And there's no right or wrong. We're not going to get offended.
Yeah, just trying to think here. It would make it hard for me to render a judgment
Okay.
due to my belief. Not so much that he's guilty or not guilty, but I don't think I'm the one to say.
So you think there's a possibility, if you get back there as a juror, that you, even though the state, maybe other jurors think the state has proven the defendant guilty of the crimes, there may be a chance that you get back there and say, you know what, because of my beliefs, I still cannot vote guilty or not guilty.
I may have a conflict.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you again, I'm sorry.
Excuse me?
I didn't hear you, what you said.
I may have a conflict.
Thank you.
So there, you have some conflict that may prevent you from actually rendering a verdict no matter what the evidence in the law is. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
I'm going to excuse you till October 3rd at 9 in the morning. Come back to the jury assembly room for jury selection. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with anyone or let anyone speak with you about it. Wall yourself off entirely from anything to do with this case whatsoever in the meantime. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll meet juror 12. Careful. Not even my courthouse.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Okay, as you know, we're following up on a couple of questions here. We'll try to kind of cut to the chase on this because you answered quite a few concerning specifically your ability to be a juror in this specific case, okay? And I know you've been on a jury before. In this case, I believe you raised your hand that you had formed some opinion of guilt or innocence already, and you also answered another question regarding your ability to be perfectly impartial between the state and the defense. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and tell me what is the issue you have as far as your opinion you formed and the inability to be fair and impartial.
You know, in this case, you know, the little boy's dead, and in my mind, there's one person responsible for that, and you know, whatever excuse or rationale there is for it, I don't think would change my opinion.
Okay. Is your opinion so fixed and definite that you would listen to the evidence in the law, it wouldn't change it?
I don't think so.
That's all I have, Judge.
I'm going to excuse you until October 3rd at 9 a.m. for jury selection. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with others or let anyone speak with you about the case. Absolutely shield, guard, and protect yourself from any information about this case outside of this courtroom. Thank you. All right. Let's see, they should be here, the next group. We told them to come at 1:30.
Yeah, it's 2 o'clock, and they're all here.
They're all here? Well, that's perfect. Talk about timing. Do you want to go let Mr. Perdue know, or are they coming?
You said you got the rest of them ready.
Perfect. You can bring them. Thank you, Mr. Chestnut.
Judge, do you want us to go ahead and, are we going to do cause after the next 12 too, just do 24 at a time, or?
They're here.
I think we.
Why don't we talk to them for a little bit, and
Okay.
then we'll take a break at about, say, 3, and you all can talk at that time, and we can make a record.
And Judge, I think we only need about 2 minutes
Yeah.
to be able to make that.
Well, if you're ready, if you can do it.
Okay.
Mr. Sharon, can you tell them to wait a minute?
Yes.
I mean, if they can be that punctual, I would like for us to be that punctual,
Yes,
to be
sir.
honest.
Judge, we'll just step back to the witness room real quick and we'll come right up.
All right, go. Everybody else stay put. you in concert?
Yes, we are, Judge. We're not going to have to argue any motions.
All right, give me 1 minute, please. Build your record as to the jurors.
Your Honor, juror number 1, there is no motion from either side.
Yes.
Juror 2, no motions from either side.
Okay.
Juror 3, no motions from either side.
Okay.
Juror 4, no motions from either side.
All right.
Juror 5, no motions from either side.
Okay.
Juror 6, no motions from either side.
Okay.
Juror 7 was excused because of an exemption.
Yes.
Juror 8 is a motion to strike for cause by the defense. The state consents.
All right.
Juror 9 was excused because of an exemption.
Yes.
Juror 10 is a motion to strike for cause by the defense. That is a consent.
All right.
Juror 11, a motion excused for cause. That is a consent.
Okay.
And juror 12, that is a motion to excuse for cause. That is a consent.
Very good. Is that agreeable by the defense?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Then that means we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. Now, can we bring in the next?
Yes, Your Honor.
Bring them in. Thank you, Mr. Chestnut.
Let's all rise for the jury, please.
Yeah.
Number 8's supposed to be. Number 18's supposed to be right there.
Yeah, she's supposed to be on that row.
Number 8.
18.
18?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Can y'all move just look at that? I think they can pull it off. Go down, is that right?
Yes.
Please be seated.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see you again. Thank you for being so prompt. And we did a pretty good job, too, so that's remarkable all the way around, and good news, isn't it? We're ready to resume jury questioning for the state first.
Ms. Treadway is going to handle this now.
Thank you, Ms. Treadway.
Obviously, I am not Chuck Boring. My name is Susan Treadway. Let me reintroduce myself. And I know that you all have already been through one series of questions with Mr. Boring where he asked you some general questions and you raised your hands. And most of what we're going to be covering at this juncture is going to be those general questions. The bad news for all of you is that I think most of you we will have to bring back another time to ask a few things in private. But we're going to try to cover most of what we can here now, and starting with Juror 13. Good afternoon. And just to ask you a little bit about your employment background, understand that you are a nurse. And how long have you been nursing? 30 years? Okay, and you have a very soft voice, so I know there might be some trouble hearing you if you don't mind me remind you to speak up just a little bit so we can hear your responses. So 30 years in nursing, and I would assume that that's pretty much been your career in nursing?
Yes.
Okay. And your husband works with heavy equipment operations?
Yes.
How long has he been doing that type of work?
30 plus years.
Okay. Let me go back and ask you, your nursing career, what type of nursing have you done over those 30 years?
The majority was emergency room, and the last 9 years have been through home health.
And in the time that you spent working in the emergency room, did you have occasion to treat children?
Yes.
And would that include traumatic injury of children as well? Okay. And your husband, has he always been in that line of work with the heavy equipment, or has he done other things also? Okay. And you have 4 children?
Yes.
All right. And four grandchildren?
Yes.
Okay. And I have here I think one grandson and 3 granddaughters,
Right.
with the youngest being just over a week old, a week and a half old. And how many of those live close by?
Well, they're all 40 miles.
40 miles away. Okay. How often do you get to see them?
2 to 3 times a month.
All right. You live on Blythe Island. Okay. Where and you know we're not from here, so in relationship to where we are now, where would that be?
I think it's considered south of Brunswick.
Okay. How long have you lived on Blythe Island?
It's 8 years.
Okay. And are you from Glenn County or this area?
Wayne County.
Okay. Now, I have here that you know someone who is a prosecutor.
Yes.
Who would that be?
Richard Malone.
And remind me what circuit that's in.
I'm not sure which one. I think he's retired now.
Is he formerly with the Prosecuting Attorneys Council? Is that the same one?
So.
Okay. How do you know Mr. Malone?
He was married to my cousin.
Okay.
He was married to my cousin.
Is that Diane? Mhm. And I also have a note here that you answered one of Mr. Boring's questions about being involved in some type of a justice project. Did I have that wrong? Okay. And what about knowing people who work in the court system other than Mr. Malone, obviously?
My stepdaughter.
Okay, what does she do?
She's a paralegal.
Do you know what type of work she does as a paralegal?
She actually works for Bob Purple.
Okay, so that was my next question. What type of law does he do? But you think he practices criminal law?
I think he does.
Okay. And the reason that you think that would be because has she talked with you about the type of work they do?
Not a lot, I just from advertisements.
Okay. The name is familiar.
I'm not really sure what all he does.
Okay. All right. And the job that you currently hold, I have written down that you have supervisory duties?
Yes.
Okay. And what would that include?
I supervise all staffing and patient care coordination with nurses to go out and see patients in the home, as well as supervise home health aides.
Okay. And how long have you been in that type of a role in your job?
9 years.
And folks that you know in law enforcement,
Nephew,
where does he work?
Wayne County.
Is that sheriff's office?
Yes.
Do you know how long he's been with them?
About 6 or 8 months.
Is that his only law enforcement experience, or was he somewhere before that?
He was with the prison system.
Okay. Did you ever talk with him about his daily nothing? Okay. You know some people that are in the military.
My father was
What branch?
Army.
Okay. And folks in the legal field, other than your stepdaughter and Mr. Malone, anybody else you can think of?
I have one cousin that's a personal injury attorney.
Okay. Is that here in Georgia?
Atlanta.
Okay. Obviously, you know a lot of folks in the medical field. So outside of, and I'll just follow up with the way Mr. Boring's been asking the question, obviously every day that you go to work, and probably a lot of your close friends are involved in the medical community over 30 years, I'm sure you've made some good friends. Anyone else that's very close to you in your family that you want to tell us about? Any close friends other than those that you work with? Okay. And folks in the IT field?
I have a cousin that works with IT.
I also have written down that you attend regular church services or some type of religious service. Could you tell me where you go for that?
Between two.
Okay.
Golden Mills Church of God here and Jessup Church of God in Jessup.
Okay. All right. And let's move on to, you've raised your hand about being at least somewhat familiar with social media applications and so forth. And I know that there's a list that I'd like to go through, if that's all right with you, just to see if you're familiar with these. The most obvious probably being Facebook. Do you have a Facebook? Okay. And can you tell me with Facebook, how often do you use it and what do you use it for?
I mean, I look at it daily, very, very seldom post anything, but
Okay.
mainly just for pictures of family because that's how we're connected with a lot.
Okay. And as far as commenting on anything, participating in any blogs or anything, is it mostly related to just looking at family photos and catching up with friends, or do you do anything else on Facebook? Okay. What about Snapchat?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have an account and you use it pretty regularly?
Yes.
Is that just communicating with friends and family? Same thing? And Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. Same thing? Okay. All right. What about YouTube? Do you ever use YouTube for anything?
Very seldom.
And have you, do you have a Twitter account? Join the club. Have you ever heard of Whisper? And also, I have a note written here that you have watched or familiar with some type of a legal documentary or docudrama, something of that nature. Okay, could you tell me about that?
Jay Simpson.
Okay. Would that be the original trial, or did they had something recent?
It was the original.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Okay. And do you remember if you followed the entire trial or just caught bits and pieces of it when you could, or?
Just bits and pieces.
Working with children, when have you done that, besides what we've already discussed?
I did work part-time in the pediatrician's office down in, that was probably 5 years ago.
And how did that opportunity come along? Do you know?
A friend.
Were they just short and they needed somebody to come and help out? And caring for another? Have that- Was that a long-term thing, or?
It was relatively short term.
Okay. Sorry to hear that. And you know somebody who's been arrested?
Yes.
Could you tell me about that?
It was a former boyfriend.
Okay. I'm not getting too specific. What were the nature of the charges, if you remember, if you know?
DUI.
And do you recall if that arrest came while the two of you were dating?
Yes, it did.
And from what you know about the facts and circumstances, do you believe he was treated fairly?
Yes.
Okay. When have you testified as a witness?
Approximately probably 16 years ago.
And was that involving a family member?
No.
Okay. And what, I guess in what role were you called then? How did you know the child?
It was a coworker's child.
Coworker. Okay. Were you like a character witness or something like? And at some point, you've made a statement to law enforcement or written a statement or, okay, could you tell me about that?
I have a vehicle that was broken into.
They ever catch who did it? Okay. And you know of somebody who, or you yourself have made a report to DFACS or been involved in something like that? Okay, you've made the report? Okay. Can you give me a little bit of the circumstances about why you did that?
It was while I was working in the emergency room. We had a child that was burned.
And I assume you're also a mandated reporter, and those are things that if you see, you have to report them. Okay. Were you ever called as a witness or anything beyond just making a statement or referring it to DFACS? And I have written down that you know someone who unfortunately has had the sudden death of a young child. Could you tell me about that?
It was my aunt. And she died with a congenital heart issue.
Sorry to hear that. Then also have that you know someone who's been the victim of a homicide. Without getting into too many of the details, could you tell me a little bit about what happened?
It was, I believe, over money.
And the person that did this, were they ever prosecuted?
I don't think it has been done yet.
Okay, is it fairly recent?
July.
Sorry. Is that here in Glenn County also? And do you have family members that currently live in Cobb County or have at some point lived in Cobb County? Who would that be, and do you know roughly the area?
Is, like the Buckhead area considered Cobb County, or is that?
It's a little bit south, but we'll make a note of that. What relationship and how long? And
Cousins, aunts.
do you go to visit frequently? Are you familiar with that area such that you could drive in there without using a GPS or anything like that? Okay. Good thing we have those these days, right? Everybody'd get lost. And I also have written down that you've been through a divorce?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Juror 13, I believe those are all the questions that I have for you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. You have a very soft voice, and the further we are away from you, the really harder it is to hear. So if I do this or something of that nature, please just speak up a little bit for us, please, ma'am. It's good to be kind of back home where people can understand my accent a little bit better than they do in Atlanta. So, but if there's anything that I say that you don't understand for any of you, certainly let me know. I want to ask you a little bit about the is it your stepdaughter that works for Bob Perkle? Is that correct? All right. And do you know Bob personally?
No.
Okay. And is she still at home, living at home, your stepdaughter?
She's married.
She's married, okay. So do you have occasion to speak with her at all about her work or what sort of work they do? Okay. Bob was the very first attorney that I tried a case against 21 years ago. He beat me soundly, so I'm glad he's not shared that story with anyone else. The other folks that you know in law enforcement, he said you had a nephew that works for the sheriff's office in Wayne County. And is he someone that you would see on a regular basis?
No.
Okay. Either one of those relationships leads you to feel like that would impact you in any way as far as listening to the evidence in this case? Okay. And I understood you say that Richard Malone was married to your cousin?
Yes.
Am I correct? Is this the Malone that's in Statesboro? Does that sound right?
I think that's the area.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you have any contact with him at all? Okay. Just know he was in the family somehow. Okay. All right. You were originally from Jessup and you moved down here. Is that basically been the two places you've lived?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're still at Chin Church up there sometimes. Is that the church you grew up in?
Yes.
Okay, is that where your family still goes and attends? Okay. Is it anywhere near Sybil's?
Not too far.
Okay. We're in this neck of the woods. That's where we go after church on Sunday. I'm going to introduce my partners to that while we're here, hopefully. That's a restaurant for the Madam Court Board, in case you're wondering. In case anyone wondered. All right. Your work in a pediatrician's office, how many years did you do that again?
It was about 9 months.
9 months.
It was not full-time, it was part-time.
Okay. What was your job there?
To injections for infants, just basically the nursing.
Okay. Were you one of the nurses that would, when a child came in and with the parent to go over all those initial questions that you normally go through with them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I don't know, I know that changes over time. The different questions they ask are always interesting to me, things they ask us. Did you have any particular training for that particular job to work with children at all, or is that just kind of a job that opened up? Okay. While you were there, were there any training or do you remember having any questions where you would ask parents about use of car seats?
No.
Okay. The opportunity you had to testify for your coworker, I understand that was actually in a courtroom, is that correct? And were you in court watching other witnesses testify as well?
No.
Okay. And was this something that happened over just like one day of a hearing, or did it go on over a week? Just one day? Okay. I presume this is a very close coworker that you're willing to go testify for them.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have conversations with him or her about witnesses that were testifying and things they were saying?
No.
Okay. Your family that lives up in Buckhead, do you visit them very often?
Maybe once every 2 years.
Okay. Are you the one who drives when you go up there to see them?
Unfortunately.
Okay. And have you ever had to drive up there during their early morning rush hour traffic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did you find that?
Horrible.
Okay. Were you by yourself, or was there other family with you?
Other family.
Okay. Or were they trying to help navigate you around and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay. This unfortunate thing involving your uncle, has someone actually been arrested for that charge?
Yes.
Okay. And are they currently in jail, as far as you know?
As far as I know.
Okay. And that's in Wayne County, up in Jessup. Have you had any contact with any of the law enforcement folks in relation to that case?
No.
Okay. I believe that DA's office here also handles cases up in Wayne County, as I understand it. But would you have any, the fact that there may be some involvement there doesn't involve this DA's office that's in this courtroom, obviously. But as far as you know, you're not going to have any interaction with them directly yourself. Have you been to any court proceedings or anything in that matter?
No.
You mentioned the OJ trial, and I understood you to be saying that you kind of saw bits and pieces of the trial itself. And was there any particular interest you had in that, or just because that was the top of the news each night you saw it?
No, only because my father was retired and watched it from beginning to end.
I gotcha. Did you like to talk about it and everything that happened that day? No? Okay. Did you come away from that case at all with any sort of particular ideas about the justice system?
Not really.
Okay. I understood you to say that you had had opportunity to kind of experience someone who was in shock, and what would be the context of your being able to see that?
Sudden deaths in the emergency room, explaining to family members what had happened.
Okay. And did you learn that there's one particular way that everybody acts when they're in shock, or did you see various types of reactions?
Various types.
And did that cause you to have to, did you treat those people differently depending on how they were reacting to it?
Yeah.
And the time that you were in the ER, how many years were you in there?
22, I think.
22 years, wow. So it's not an everyday occurrence, but this is something you would have had to deal with very often, fair to say. Did you ever have to deal with a family where a child had died?
Yes.
Okay. And were any of those situations where a child came into the ER and was alive but died while the child was there, that you recall?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
It's usually one way or the other.
Okay. They may have already been deceased, but they were brought in hopes that maybe something could be done. Okay. Is it true, what you mentioned before, dealing with parents, did you see a range of emotions in those situations as well?
Yes.
And was that the, what hospital was that, ER?
Wayne Memorial.
Okay. Did those occasions cause you to ever have to deal with law enforcement and making a statement to police right there on the scene in the ER?
Yes.
Okay. But you've never been called to court to have to testify about any of those things? All right. And I also had a note here about, and I forget the question, Mr. Boring had a very good question about working for legal aid or some sort of counseling, anything of that involved people that were charged with crimes. We just totally, we may just got the wrong number called out, but that didn't ring a bell with you. Okay. Also note, as I looks like here, that you've heard some public service announcements talking about either children or animals or both being left in cars and dangers and that sort of thing. What do you recall about hearing that?
Just reminding you to look twice before you get out.
Okay. Do you remember where you would that have been on TV, radio, newspaper? TV. And in any of your medical training, had you run across those same sort of ideas or trainings or thoughts about making sure people are aware of that, make sure they don't forget a child or an animal in their car? Have you ever had a situation yourself where you dealt with somebody who had done that? Had forgotten a child or any other, or elderly person or anybody?
Not personally.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think there may be, I think that's all I have right now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Juror 14. Start by asking you some questions about what you do for a living. I have written down that you're an elementary school teacher in Glenn County. Okay. What grade do you teach?
Currently, I teach 5th grade,
Okay. How long have you been a teacher?
22 years.
Okay. Have you ever done any other type of work?
In college, a waitress for a short time, just some basic, summer jobs once I worked in the hospital, filing reports for Dr. Brown, and he's a radiologist.
Okay, thank you. You teach 5th grade now. What other grades have you taught?
I taught 2nd grade, I taught kindergarten, I taught 3rd, I taught gifted education. Most of my career I spent teaching gifted education, all grades from kindergarten to 5th grade.
And your spouse is self-employed in construction?
Yes.
And that's commercial and residential?
Yes.
How long has he been doing that type of work?
In construction, 16 years, but in that particular business, just, I think about 9 years.
And
10 years.
It's a family business?
It's his business,
Okay.
yes.
Does he work a lot of hours?
Yes.
And 2 children, a stepson who's 16 and a son who is 8?
Correct.
Correct, okay. Your stepson, does he live with you full-time?
He does not.
Okay. How often do you get to see him?
I get to see him all summer, all of Christmas break, which is 2 weeks, which is my break as well.
Okay.
And usually maybe for Thanksgiving and sometimes during spring break, but not always because it doesn't always fall on the same week.
Where does he live?
He lives in Montreal, Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a long way away. All right. And you know some folks that work with the court system.
I do.
Who would that be?
Judge Stan Baker. And then his wife, but I'm not really sure what Crystal does. Crystal Baker.
Okay.
She's an attorney, but I'm not sure exactly what her title is. I know Leslie DeVoot, she was a judge in this area, but I think she moved. I taught all of their children.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So both either still in this area or at least were at the time that you knew them because their children were in school with you. Anything about your relationship with any of them that would affect your ability to be fair and impartial in this case? Okay. What about anyone that you know who's in law enforcement?
I have one cousin who is part of the DNR, and I think he's also in the sheriff's department in
Okay.
Wayne County, but I'm really not certain of his job title.
Okay. Do you know how long he has been doing law enforcement work?
It's most of his life, 30 years.
Okay, for a while. And the type of work that he does, I'm sure it sounds, especially with DNR, probably very interesting. Anything, any stories or anything? Does he ever talk to you about adventures that he goes on or anything that happens? Okay. Not often? All right. And folks that work in the medical profession, who would that be?
My sister is a nurse.
What type of nursing does she do?
Currently, she is at hospice.
Okay.
She worked in the ER as well for a very long time, probably about 20 years.
Okay. Assuming that she's probably also treated children that have come in with traumatic injury. Has she ever talked to you about any of the cases that have come in, or any emotions of anything that she sees, anything like that? Is she local?
She is from Wayne County.
Okay. And in the mental health profession, who would that be?
Several people. I work next door to the counselor. The room is right next to mine. And my principal is a very good friend of mine, and she was a counselor. Her dad is also a psychiatrist locally, Dr. Johnson. My ex-husband had a psychology degree. I don't know.
And you said that the principal is also a close friend of yours? And do you spend a lot of time, especially outside of school also?
Yes.
They ever talk about anything that has to do with psychology and how the brain works, anything like that?
Outside of school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's outside of school, it's about a particular student and privacy, you know,
Okay.
just some insight, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just generally talking about things sort of in the abstract. What about in the field of sociology or working with DFACS or Child Protective Services, something like that?
Well, I'm a mandated reporter,
Mhm.
so we have training once a year. I'm also having worked with Richard Don, the local person with DFACS that works with the school system. So, I mean, only if I have to report something. I'm not with them on a regular basis.
And so have you actually had to make reports?
I have reported to the principal, but I have never been the one to fill the forms out. But this year, things have changed, and they said if you're the one that reports, it has to be written in your handwriting on the form. So before, no, you would report to the principal, and the principal would follow up.
Do you have any idea in your 22 years of doing this job how many approximately reports you have made?
Just a handful.
Okay.
Maybe 3 or 4.
And in the IT field, who would that be?
Most teachers have some type of background like that as well.
Guess you have to these days, right?
Right.
My son can only do homework on a computer some nights, so I don't know, what do you do these days? When I was in school, we didn't use a computer, but now they require everything in the smart boards that they have in classrooms and so forth. So I guess you do have to have a general working knowledge yourself in order to... And you've served on a jury before?
Well, I don't understand that question, but
Okay.
it was called last year I got to the same point here.
Okay.
And was never really selected. I was not good for that selection.
Okay, so you actually went through the questioning process, but when it came time to strike the jury, you were released?
Yes.
Okay. You regularly attend church services or belong to some type of religious organization?
Regularly, with you to know, but yes.
Okay. Where would that be?
I usually go home, and I'm from Wayne County originally, so I either go to Oda Baptist Church or I go to my granddad's church, and it's Oakland Baptist.
What was it?
Oakland.
Oakwind? And he's the pastor?
No,
Okay.
he is deceased, but
I'm sorry.
I have an uncle that is deacon there.
Okay, moving into the question about social media and all of that. Starting with Facebook, have a Facebook account. Do you check it frequently? And what types of things do you use Facebook for?
Really just to post pictures of my children and more. That's basically about it, or trips that we go on as a family.
Anything else that you, like blogs, or do you comment on other things outside of family, friends?
Occasionally, like someone posted something about my children shouldn't have lots of homework, and I agreed with that.
So kind of job connected, just sort of that kind of thing. Okay. What about Instagram?
I have an Instagram account. Not that I don't use it, but I have one.
And let's see, get my list out of my others, 'cause I don't have a lot of these, so I have to refer myself to the list. Looking at Twitter, do you have Twitter? No Twitter. What about YouTube? You ever go on YouTube for anything?
Yes,
What types of things would you look at YouTube for?
we are allowed to use YouTube at school.
Mhm.
So if I need a video about prepositions or some type of school-related thing,
Mhm.
or at home, if I'm just needing some information on how to cook something, I'll YouTube it over here.
You pretty much find anything you need on YouTube. What about Snapchat?
I do have a Snapchat account, but
Okay.
I don't know how to use it. And my son
Okay.
does Snapchat with my neighbor back and forth.
Okay. Craigslist, ever use that for anything?
I have not. I know we have an account, but I didn't register. I think my husband might use it.
Okay.
He has purchased a bird cage off of it.
Do you have birds?
I do.
What types of birds do you have?
They're grass finches.
Those are the real small ones, they're tiny. Okay. And let's see, have you ever heard of Whisper? Scout? No? Okay. Okay, moving on. Legal docudramas or documentaries, anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
I actually tried to watch the one about John Benet Ramsey, the 20th anniversary, the other night, and I got into 10 minutes of it and was scared and turned it off.
Is that something that you were looking forward to watching, or just found yourself there and it was on and you were interested until you weren't anymore?
I saw a friend post something on Facebook that it was coming on, and I thought, oh, I'll look at that. But I didn't really know much about the first case, and it gives me nightmares, so I just turned it off.
Okay. Anything else you can recall in the past? Any other cases or anything else that you followed or been interested in?
Seemed like about 20 years ago, one summer, I remember eating a lot of ice cream, watching Dr. Grenadin, it seems like. He was a doctor out of like New Jersey that, I don't remember the whole story, but it seems like he murdered a guy, maybe.
Okay.
I didn't watch the movie, but I watched a few days ago.
Okay. Obviously, you work a lot with children day to day in your job as a teacher, but I also have written down a note about volunteer work with children as well. You could tell me about that?
Well, I volunteered at Bible school in summer, a couple summers ago. I've done some camps around the community, just anywhere they need an extra hand, you know.
And you know someone who's been arrested?
Yes,
Who would that be?
my husband.
And I don't need a lot of details, but generally, what were the charges and about how long ago?
Yes, it was prior to me marrying him.
Okay.
And it was an overstay of visa.
And obviously, it sounds like you were not even dating him at the time that this happened, and we're not there to witness anything, but from the information you have about it, do you believe he was treated fairly under the circumstances?
I actually was dating him.
Oh, you were dating, okay.
And, yes, I think he was treated fairly. He's a U.S. citizen now, so he was treated fairly.
Okay. All right, and at some point, you've made a statement to law enforcement.
Yes.
What was the occasion?
I had, when I was building a house, it's been a long time, maybe like 10 or 11 years ago, I had someone break into our cars in our driveway, and I had some things taken, and I had to make a police report.
Did they ever catch the people that did it?
I think they did.
Okay. Did you get any of your things back that were?
Not.
Okay.
I think the same person stole from several people.
Okay.
neighborhoods, so.
There was a series of the same kind of thing going on at the same period of time, so. All right, and the next question has to do with making a report to DFACS. Is that in conjunction with being a mandated reporter and so forth, or is there something else? Okay. All right. And when you have free time, what do you like to do?
Travel.
Okay. Any place in particular?
Out of the
as far away as possible? All right. Well, Juror 14, I appreciate your responses to those questions. I do believe there's a few things we'll be taking up in private a little later, but Mr. Luck can have some questions as well.
Mrs. P, probably best we're not using your names because I'm afraid we might get yours wrong, and I don't want to do that. But you've been through jury selection process before, and through these sort of questions and that sort of thing. Which one did you enjoy more, this one or the previous one? They were both equally unpleasant. I got you. Well, hopefully we'll be finished with your part here shortly. I believe you indicated to us that you either write a blog or participate in a blog or something of that nature. Do you mind telling us what that's about?
I do. I have a blog attached to my webpage at work, and it's usually about a piece of literature that the kids are reading.
Okay.
They're able to answer questions and blog back and forth.
I got you. So it's set up purely for the educational purpose for your class.
And only those children can respond to it.
Very good. Okay. How long have you been doing that?
Blog?
Yes, ma'am.
It seems like I started it about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I don't do it on a regular basis.
Ms. Treadway said when she was in school, they weren't using computers. When I was in school, we didn't have computers. So this is all new with my children. Everything comes online, it seems. Do you have, is this something where y'all would send messages back and forth to the students, to you asking questions, or just you put something out there and then they just log on to do the work?
It can go either way.
Okay.
It's according to how you set it up.
Okay. Do you normally communicate with your students at all on online fashion that way? Or very seldom?
I normally just set the question up and
Okay.
they just respond to it.
Very good.
To what they're supposed to. I'll give them a comment like, you need to get that on task, or, you know, like, you're not there to say these things, just
I gotcha.
talk and not focus on the question.
And what age group do you have now?
5th grade.
Fifth grade. Okay. All right. In your classroom dealing with these fifth graders, are they even allowed to bring phones to school at your school?
Occasionally.
Or devices of some sort? Okay. Do they do texting and that sort of thing while they're in class?
No.
Okay. They're allowed to do it in their free time in between classes or whatnot, or?
No.
Okay. They're just supposed to be using it for school purposes.
Well, they're supposed to have it in their book bag.
Okay.
If they need it, I think sometimes the bus drivers let them listen to music on the way home.
I gotcha.
Or it's still with parents after school.
Okay. So it's more of an emergency contact device. And you said you have an Instagram account. Is this the one where you can take a picture and then add effects to it and whatnot?
Change the color and
Okay. I've seen a lot lately, people adding ears and noses and flowers and strange things to their faces. That doesn't sound like something you would do.
I think that's Snapchat.
That may be Snapchat. Okay.
My
Great.
son does that on Snapchat.
I gotcha. All right. You mentioned Facebook, that you might be posting pictures of your children on there. Would you ever post an educational article or some news article that was of interest to you? Okay. What sort of, do you remember maybe the last thing that you would have posted like that, what that might be?
I shared something about homework.
Okay.
Yes. That research proves that homework is not only beneficial to most children.
My kids are really keenly aware of that. That seems to be a lot of that going around, and then there's a petition being drawn up at our house, but you feel persuaded by that? That seemed to be Sound like, have you done some research into that, first of all?
Well, I feel like the children that really need the extra homework, their parents are not able to help them with the homework.
I gotcha. So it's not being productive if they're not able to get the help. Okay. Are you one of these teachers that tries to be very involved with the kids and their parents, trying to work with them with stuff, or you just kind of wait until they call on you to ask for help?
No, I think I'm proactive.
Okay. In doing that, are you in contact with parents pretty regularly to kind of see which ones are engaged and which ones are not engaged with their kids and their education? Okay. As far as the parents you deal with, are you most typically dealing with moms rather than dads, or is it pretty even between moms and dads?
It's pretty even.
Okay. I presume there are some students that you just never meet their parents. Okay. Where does your, do you have a formal degree in education? And do you have a formal degree, a college degree in education? Where's that from?
I have a bachelor's degree from Georgia Southern University, a master's degree from, part of that was from Armstrong State, and then part of it was from Cambridge College. And I have a specialist degree in educational leadership, that was through NOVA.
Wow. How long ago did you get that educational leadership degree?
My son was, the year my son was born, so 8 years ago.
Okay. Good. And you mentioned several places, different grades that you taught. Are they here in the Glenn County public school system?
Not all of them.
Okay.
I taught in Richmond County,
Richmond, is that up around Augusta?
Augusta,
Okay.
for 1 year.
Okay.
I taught in Long County,
And Ludowici?
yes, for 1 year right out of college.
Okay.
And then I taught in Wayne County for 8 years.
Okay.
And then it would be 12 years. This
Okay.
month.
Okay.
That would be 22.
Did you get a job that brought you here to Glenn County to teach?
I did.
Okay. All right. And you mentioned your husband is a U.S. citizen now. Where was he from originally?
Czech Republic.
Okay. And I think you said that they had a visa issue, they treated him fairly. Did the government actually ever detain him or arrest him in any way? Okay. And you were dating him at that time? And were you working, trying to see about how to get him out of custody or to court, or do you have an attorney doing that, or what?
I have an attorney.
Okay.
Yes.
Was that a frustrating time for you, or did that go pretty easily?
Frustrating.
Okay. Was it the attorney that was frustrating, or was it the process, or something else?
Both.
Okay. Did that leave any lasting impressions on you about how the government treats people in that sort of situation?
Happy outcome.
You were happy that it worked out ultimately? Okay. Your face looks a little strained as you talk about it. I take it it's still kind of, still bothersome to you. Is that fair to say? Okay, all right. One last thing, you had talked about done some research for car seats when y'all needed car seats, and how would you describe how you did that research? How involved was that?
I went online and looked at some different options, and I went to Target and I purchased one, but I didn't know how to put it in, and we couldn't figure something out, so I took it to the state patrol office.
Okay.
To see if they would help me
Okay.
install it correctly, because I read that they would help you do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and there wasn't anyone there that day that knew how to do it.
Oh, no.
I left, went home and figured it out.
I got you.
The best I could, so.
Basically, you were trying to find every way you could to make sure it was as safe as possible. Okay. Was this before you had children, or was this after you already had a child?
It was when I needed. I guess it would have been before I had a child.
Okay.
'Cause I had to bring them home from the
That's right. Okay. In other words, you were planning ahead. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that's all I have for right now. Thank you so much.
Juror 15.
Good afternoon. And we have several things that we'll be taking up with you later, so probably don't have as many questions to ask right now, but we'll start by going a little bit into your background in banking. I know that you're retired now. If you could tell me a little bit about your career and what you did.
I spent 35 years in banking, everything from bookkeeping to teller to customer service to loan clerk to human resources.
Okay.
Director of Human Resources.
Definitely a little bit of everything there. And let's see, and currently I have written down that you're still working as a personal assistant to a corporate executive, is that right? And where is that you?
On St. Simon's Island.
Okay. All right. And I'm sorry to hear that you're a widow. You have no children, but you have, well, you do, because they're the fur babies. Okay. And what types of pets are those?
I have 2 cats.
Cats.
And several friends who have dogs that are named after me.
Okay. Who do you know in prosecution?
I have Mr. Jim Bishop, who's a local attorney, Randy Jordan, J.T. Johnson, Saxby Chambliss.
Now that name I recognize.
Bunches of friends that are in, who are attorneys.
Okay. Any of these attorneys that you've named, have they ever done criminal practice, or do they still do criminal practice as far as you know?
I think Randy Jordan does.
Okay.
Jim Gilbert probably has.
Okay. When I say that, I guess I'm obviously Mr. Chambliss is no longer a prosecutor, so meaning these folks, have they moved on from that job and are they doing something different?
No, the only one is Saxby.
Okay. And so the other ones you believe are still in prosecution? Okay, great. All right. And now, or at some point, you have had some type of supervisory authority and hire and fire. Would that be in the banking?
Human Resources.
Okay. All right. And military background?
My daddy was in the Army, my brother was in the Navy, and my husband was in the Navy.
Okay. I haven't heard anybody from the Coast Guard. My father was in the Coast Guard. I guess they're just rare breed, I suppose. Maybe we'll get one eventually.
They're puddle jumpers.
Yeah. Well.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, the legal field. Let's move on to the legal field. Who do you know besides those folks that we've already talked about? Is there anybody different?
Marty Crabtree is the paralegal for Jim Gilbert.
Gotcha.
And pretty close to her.
Okay. And in the medical field? Oh, I'm sorry, were you still answering that question?
No, I was just thinking.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure I'm old, I'll think of it later on when I'm brushing my teeth. Medical field,
Yes.
several doctors, Benny Arlaskis, he's a surgeon here in Brunswick.
Okay.
Hewitt Maddox is a gastroenterologist.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what about mental health? Any psychologists or psychiatrists, anything like that? Counselors?
I put in counseling.
Okay. But you don't know anybody who, not like a personal friend or anything like you've mentioned for the others? Okay, I had that down, but it must have been a mistake. You have previously served on a jury?
It was a civil case.
Civil case. Was it here?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know about how long ago it was?
Seems like it's about 5 years ago.
Not too long ago. Do you remember whether you were able to reach a verdict?
Yes.
Okay. And were you the foreperson?
No.
Okay. And you belong to a religious organization or a church of some kind?
First Baptist Church of Brunswick.
Okay, legal TV shows. Which one? Anyone in particular that if you miss it, your heart is just broken in a million pieces?
No.
No? Okay. So they used to call it TiVoing, but I guess now it's just do you DVR any of these shows if you miss them? Which one would be the one that you would?
Law and Order.
Law and Order. Just the regular old plain vanilla Law and Order. Nothing like SVU or the. Maybe not, how many?
Victims.
Okay, so that's the one, the special victims unit. Okay. And what about the reality side?
John Benet.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched that.
Did you watch that special this past weekend? Okay. Were you looking forward to watching that? Did you know it was coming up? I know a lot of people were waiting for.
Looking forward to it, but kind of happened on it and said, okay, I'm going to watch this.
Okay.
Because I remember when it all happened, and I kind of watched that, when it's real time.
Right. So obviously not happy about the subject matter, but it's the type of thing that interests you, and if you have the time to watch it, you definitely would want to catch it. Okay. Gotcha. And a trial that you have followed in the past?
The OJ.
Okay. The original?
The original,
Okay.
and then I watched the series.
Okay. You've had the, you've cared for somebody in the past? Okay. All right. And you've had a good experience with law enforcement, I have written down. Is that?
Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any one that sticks out?
My mother was watering flowers in her yard, and her neighbor was shooting at a beaver across the lake.
Oh, my goodness.
And she was shot.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Sheriff Neil Jump happened to live across the street, and he came over, and he was very good. And then, of course, when we went to the hospital, the DNR was there. They were very supportive. And
is she okay?
oh yeah,
Okay.
she's tough.
Okay. Tougher than that beaver would have been, that's for sure. And you've had the occasion to testify as a witness before?
Yes, long time ago.
Okay. What type of, if you remember, what?
I was a teller, and the gentleman added a couple of zeros to a check.
Okay.
And they took him to court. And he said he didn't do it, and said I did it actually.
Oh.
And took the money. So.
So you had to set the record straight on that one. Okay. When have you given a statement to law enforcement? That case or something different?
I answered the phone for bombing, a bomb threat at the bank.
Okay. Oh, absolutely, that counts. So did they come and do a full investigation? And yeah, did they ever find anything? Or any idea who this person was or why they did what they did? Nothing? Okay. And I also have written down that unfortunately you know someone who has been the victim of a homicide.
My uncle, several years ago. It was when came into his house and shot him 5 times. They never found out who did it.
Sorry
He
to
was
hear
an attorney in Savannah.
I'm very sorry. And I also have written down, I believe I have this correct, so correct me if I'm wrong, the Chick-fil-A in Cobb County, you familiar with that? Okay. So you're familiar with the Big Chicken? Okay. What about any of the Chick-fil-A locations up there? Are you familiar with any of those or where they are? Anything like that?
I know I've been in several of them, but probably couldn't get back to them and couldn't tell you which ones.
Okay. So would that be traveling through Cobb County, or you've never lived in Cobb?
I've never lived in Cobb County, but I used to live in Noonan.
Okay.
And I shop up there all the time.
Okay.
And that was a long time ago.
All right. Someone who has tried online dating or has had a relationship online. Who would that be?
My brother-in-law met a lady online and married her.
Oh, okay.
And divorced her.
Oh. Happy and sad at the same time. All right. Well, I believe those are all the questions I have now. As I said, we will have some things to follow up with you on later, and I know Mr. Lincoln will have some questions as well.
Ma'am, for the sake of your fellow jurors, you said you went to the Big Chicken. They probably wonder what in the world that is if they're not familiar with Cobb County. That's the Big Chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken that's right there in the middle of Cobb County, correct? What caused you to be there?
Shopping
Okay.
in that area.
Okay. Had you heard about it? That was just kind of one of the tourist places to see that you wanted to go eat there, or you just happened to be nearby it?
Just happened to be.
I got you. Ever do any shopping down in the Cumberland Mall area that you know of, in Galleria, that area? Okay. Would this be a trip that you would go up there by yourself, or would you be going up with some friends or meeting friends, or what?
With friends.
Okay. Did you ever go up there and get caught in some either early morning or afternoon traffic?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Was it very tense for you?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. The issue with your uncle that was killed in Savannah, did you tell us how long ago that was?
It was in '86.
Okay, okay.
So that's a long time.
All right. Were you real close to him at that time?
Yes.
Okay, were you involved at all in dealing with the police or anybody investigating? Okay. The OJ case, you watched it. Would you consider yourself like a binge watcher, watching everything you could, or just kind of keeping track of it?
It was very interesting.
Okay.
The details.
Okay. So were you watching the actual court proceedings and seeing how things were going on in court? All right. And did that leave you any particular impression about either the prosecutors or the defense attorneys in that case?
No, not really.
Okay. All right. And then you followed it up with the recent Made in America OJ special. Having seen what you saw back in the 90s and then seeing that, how do those two compare in your mind?
Well, I struggled through the series.
Okay.
I mean, that was
Was it just too much drama?
just too many hours. Hours.
Oh, just the length of it. I gotcha. I gotcha. Did you feel like it accurately portrayed what happened, or did you feel like that was just kind of a lot of drama?
I thought it was probably embellished.
I gotcha. And the John Bonet case, of course, that is getting a lot of attention these days. You remember when that originally happened, like you said. And were you living up in Noonan at that time?
No, I was here.
You were here, okay. her grave is actually there in Marietta in Cobb County. Have you had any, were you ever interested when you were up in that area to go see that or anything of that nature? And you said you did watch the special. Your fellow juror talked about how just emotionally difficult it was. Did you find that sort of issue with you as well, or were you able to kind of make it through it and just kind of process it, or?
Yeah, I just listening to everybody's side.
I gotcha. And I didn't get a chance to see it, unfortunately. Did they come to some new conclusion in the case, or they just kind of throwing information out there for you to conclude?
They're throwing information.
I gotcha. Did that affect your opinion on anything about what happened? Okay. All right. Been a question about public service announcements about the dangers of hot cars. And I think you indicated that you've heard some of those. What do you recall about how and when you would have heard those?
On the radio.
Okay.
On television. I've even seen posters.
Okay. And where would you have seen the posters?
Maybe Walmart.
Yeah, just like department stores and grocery stores. Okay. And would these be the Look Again campaign? It's got the big bus on it and whatnot. Does that sound familiar?
No.
No, but something else.
Something else.
Okay. And was it talking about both children and animals?
I think it was just children.
Okay.
No, I have seen animals, but I think it was just the children.
Okay. And did you have any friends with children or anybody else that maybe after seeing those that caused you to talk to them about that? Hey, do y'all do anything to make sure you don't forget your children or anything like that?
I don't think my friends would ever even, that would not even come into their mind that they might lose their child.
Okay.
Or their dog or their cat.
Okay. So is it fair to say then that you didn't follow up with that message to share with anybody else because you just didn't feel like you knew anybody that would need it? Okay. And you're a cat person, is that fair to say? Does you have 2 cats?
I'm an animal person.
You're an animal person, all right. Do you have any other animals other than the cats?
I have some squirrels
Okay.
that come when I call them.
Okay.
I know you think I'm squirrely, but they do.
That's good. I wish I thought of that. That would have been great. I got some squirrels in my new house, and you come call them would be great. Do you, with your cats, are you the type, would you take pictures of them or videos and post them online or anything like that? Okay. What kind of cats do you have?
Rescues.
Okay. Are you part of any sort of groups that take part in rescuing animals, assist in that?
I've rescued a lot on my own.
Okay.
And had them neutered, spayed.
Okay.
And,
Do you give them out to friends or?
Yeah.
Okay.
or sometimes you have to release them.
I gotcha. But you only have 2. Is that correct? Have you had more than that at some point in time?
At 3.
3? Okay.
2's enough.
Very good. I think you've also indicated that there's some occasion that you would have had to express your opinion online somehow. Does that, what came to your mind when we asked you about that?
I think someone asked me, what are you doing next week, or can you go so-and-so? And I said, no, I got jury duty, and they go, what jury are you on? And I said, I'm on this.
I gotcha. We were talking about opinion about this particular case. Somebody was talking to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll follow back up on that in a little bit when we have you one-on-one. But as far as you just going online and saying, I don't agree with this, or I've got a thought about this, you wouldn't be the type of person to do that. All right. And I've gotten here some indication that you used to transport children either to school or daycare. Or, no, not you. Okay. I thought that looked a little bit out of place, but you don't have particular seats for your cats, do you?
No,
Okay.
they don't ride well.
All right. All right. I think that's all for right now. We'll catch those other issues later. Thank you.
Let's take an afternoon break. Let's break until 3:30. Keep an open mind and don't discuss the matter with each other. I think that'll do it. You're going to be in the jury room. Can't really go much of anywhere. So have a good break. We'll be in recess until 3:30.
All right, for the jury.
All right, y'all get a break.
Cheers. Be seated, please.
We can resume. It'll be juror 16.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Starting with your employment background, I have written down that you were a career bus driver.
I did that for the last 5 years I worked.
Okay, what did you do before that?
I worked in
Physical
physical therapy.
therapy, all right. And how long were you a physical therapist?
Probably about 6 years.
And other than those two careers, anything else?
I worked at Lane Line Furniture for several years, and then I did jobs at Jim Clean, Kmart.
Okay. Some retail work? Okay. And I have that your husband has passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. And he was in construction.
It is in the line.
Okay, I have one son,
Yes, ma'am.
25 years old. Okay. And does he live close by?
It is in Jessup.
Okay. You're on St. Simon's?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I'm back and forth. I help take care of my mom.
Okay. Just going to make a note because I have a question on that, so I'm going to make a note of what you just told me so I don't have to ask it again. All right. And do you know someone who is a prosecutor or who has been a prosecutor at some point?
My son just graduated law school
Oh, that's great.
in May, and he's working with the DA here,
Oh, okay. What law school did he just graduate from?
Florida Coastal Law.
Okay. And he's working here in this DA's office with this DA, okay? And what's your son's name? Well, no, don't tell me his first name. Or his name at all, actually. And I'm sorry, it's a little bit strange to have to refer to you as a number instead of a person. It's a little strange, but what's that?
I said, well, that excuse me.
Unfortunately not. All right, so looking at people working in the court system other than your son, do you know anyone else? Okay. What about law enforcement in general?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you could tell me about that.
I have a cousin that's a detective in Wayne County, and then I got a cousin that's a state patrol.
Okay. Starting with your cousin, who is a detective in Wayne County, about how long has he been doing that type of work?
Most of his life.
Okay. Do you know?
He was a deputy before he was a detective.
Okay, so he moved into investigations. And do you know what area, there's, even in investigations, there's different areas of specialty. Do you know what he does? Nothing? Okay. You ever talk to him about the work that he does or anything like that? And what about, you have another cousin, you said, who's in the State Patrol?
I never talked to anybody.
Never? Okay. Right. Anything about the fact that your son just graduated law school and is working here and your cousins in law enforcement that would impact your ability to be fair and impartial in this case? Okay. And I know that you shook your head and I saw it, but I know the court reporter has to take down a response. So would that be a no?
No.
Okay, thank you. And of course, you understand at this point, obviously, this case has come from Cobb County and has nothing to do with any of the law enforcement or the judicial system here. All right. Military background. Who's in the military?
Oh, my husband was in the Army,
Okay.
and I have a cousin, her husband's in the Navy.
Still no Coast Guard. No jokes, though. No more jokes. And working in the area of legal, so we've covered a little bit of that, and is there anything beyond what we've already discussed with legal? All right. And in the medical field?
My son's wife, she's a nurse, and I have another cousin that's a nurse.
Okay. Anyone who works in pediatrics or with children in some capacity? Okay. What about in mental health? No. Had you down for that, so I'm going to mark that out. But have you previously served on a jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you tell me about that?
It was a civil case.
Was that here?
Yes, ma'am.
About how long ago? Okay. It's been long enough ago that you don't even, you forgot about it, but we know it was civil, and you remember serving on the jury. Do you remember if you were able to reach a verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall whether or not you were the foreperson?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Don't recall, or you weren't the foreperson?
I wasn't.
Okay. You were not, okay. And I probably asked a bad question, so I'm sorry. That's my fault for not clarifying. And I have a note here that you belong to a church or some type of religious organization.
I go to church, but not regular like I should.
Okay. And what church is that when you do go?
Crossroads Church, down. And sometimes when I be over here, I go to community.
Community. And that's that real big church, right? Real pretty church over there. Okay. Now, moving into social media, do you have a Facebook account?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Besides just generally having an account that may have some photos of family or so forth, do you use that account for anything else?
Sometimes I play games.
Okay. No blogging or anything like that? Okay. And moving into some of these others that I have to refer to the list because I'm not familiar with them as much either. What about Snapchat?
I don't know.
No. What about Twitter?
No.
Instagram?
I've got it, but I don't use it.
Okay. And do you ever go to YouTube for anything?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you go to YouTube for?
Music or look up, like on Facebook, whenever somebody posts something, it's got like YouTube, and I'll watch it.
Okay. Have you ever heard of Whisper?
No, ma'am.
What about Scout?
No, ma'am.
And have you ever gone to Craigslist for anything? Familiar with it at all?
I've looked at it, but that's about it.
Just kind of perusing, but nothing really struck your...
Not the bicycle,
Yeah.
just see what's out there.
Anything good? Not really? You passed on it? Okay. And at some point, you've communicated with someone that you didn't know online. Would that be the gaming or that type of thing, or is it something different?
Probably dating some.
Okay. What about legal TV shows?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your favorite?
I like NCIS and Criminal Minds, but I'm not obsessed with them.
Okay. Any favorite character? Some other folks we've talked to have just got that one person. Really, is the only reason they watch the show because of one character.
Not really.
Just you like the plot
I
line.
always had to watch that because my son's always been into it. so
Okay.
I had to-
Okay. And then any trials or documentaries or docudramas that you have also followed or been interested in?
I watched the John Bonet part of it last
Okay.
night, but I didn't really pay attention. I really wasn't into it. I had other things I was doing while I had the TV going.
Okay. What kind of channel surfing and you caught a little bit of it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you're telling me you cared for your mom. Anyone else that you've cared for, a sick person or anyone that was...
I cared for my husband and I cared for my dad before he passed.
Sorry. No. Who do you know that's been arrested?
I had a cousin that was arrested, but this is personal. I really
Okay.
not answer this.
Okay. I will move on. And unfortunately, the next two questions that I have are, they may be difficult to answer as well. Just let me know. But you or someone you know has experienced the sudden death of a child? I'm sorry?
No.
No? Okay. Well then, I'll just mark that one off. What about, I also have that you know someone who's been the victim of a homicide?
Yes, and I guess I was wrong on the question I just answered. One of my best friends was murdered, her and her son, so he was under 18, so I guess he'd be shot.
I'm sorry, I hear that. Okay. I believe that's all the questions I have for now. I know we have a few things that we'll follow up with you on. There's one other question, though. I believe you had answered on the Hyundai, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Mr. Waring, the Hyundai Tucson. You've either driven one or owned one or something?
Yes, Yes, ma'am, I drove one whenever I was looking for my vehicle. I tried all kinds, and that was one of my tried.
Okay, so you test drove it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. About how long ago was that?
Well, I got my car in 2010, so it's probably in 2010.
All right.
9 or 10.
Thank you very much.
All right. I know you're very proud of your son for having graduated law school, having made it through all that. Did he work with the district attorney's office before he graduated law school?
Yes, sir.
Okay, like in the summers when he would come home?
Well, he went to school like so many days, and
Okay.
then what days he had off, he would come over here and work.
I gotcha. Do you know how many years he's been doing that, or how long he's been doing that?
He started college, he graduated high school in 2010, and he went to college here,
Okay,
and he got a degree in psychology and sociology. And
Okay.
then after he graduated here, he went to Florida,
okay.
and he worked hard. He went to school and worked his way.
All the way through?
Right.
Wow. Has he already taken the bar exam, or is he still
Yes,
waiting
sir,
for
he's
that?
waiting on results.
Okay, so he's a little nervous. I gotcha. Is he employed by the district attorney's office now, or is he just interning or volunteering, or what?
So he's employed.
Okay,
He's a private person.
I gotcha.
Can't tell you much that goes on.
Fair enough. Does he live at home, or does he live separately? I mean, does he live at home with you, or does he live on his own?
He lives on his own, but sometimes he lives with my mom,
Okay,
back and forth.
okay. And is she local?
My mom.
Right. Wayne County, okay. You had indicated there was maybe some work trial of some sort that you may have followed or paid attention to. Does that sound familiar?
Well, I paid attention to the murder trial of my friends.
All right. Okay, so that trial has already occurred. Okay. How long ago was that?
I can't remember what year it was in.
Okay. In the past 10 years? Less than that?
It's been over 10 years.
Okay. And so you come to court each day?
Most
For the most part? Okay. And did I understand you to say it was her son who was charged with killing her?
No, her and her son were both.
Oh, her and her son were murdered. I gotcha. Okay. And was that here locally
It was in
in Wayne County? Okay. Was that a death penalty case by chance?
Sir,
Was that a death penalty case by chance? Do you know?
I think he was under 18, so I don't think he got it.
I gotcha.
He just got life.
I gotcha. Was it anybody that they knew or total stranger?
I think it was a stranger.
Okay.
It was a robbery.
I gotcha.
The boy knew the guy
Right. The son.
from school,
I gotcha.
but I don't know. That's about all I know.
How well? Okay. Obviously, that's, I presume that's probably a pretty emotional trial even for you because it's your best friend. And as you're watching the trial occur, did that cause you to have any particular feelings about the attorneys in the case, particularly the attorneys representing the person who had done the killing? Okay. School bus driving, what got you into doing that?
My son hated daycare,
Okay,
and I was working at the hospital.
okay,
And this lady came in and she was telling me what she did, and she says, you're off during the summer and you're off in the middle of the day.
sure.
So I quit my job.
Did you really?
And
Wow.
did that, and I hated every minute of it.
I'm gonna say the reward was great, but the time of punishment in the middle was tough. And how many years have you done? Are you still doing that now?
No,
Okay. How many years did you do that?
Probably 6.
Wow. And did that allow you to take your son back and forth to school? Was that, okay. All right. You ever have a child stay on the bus past their bus stop, and at the end of the day you found out they were still riding on the bus?
Not personally.
Okay. Ever have a child fall asleep or anything like that on the bus?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any sort of protocol whenever you got through driving at the end of the day to make sure you walked to the back of the bus and checked, make sure nobody was still on there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did your bus have one of those buttons that you have to push to make sure that you've actually done that? I know some of them have a system where you actually have to push a button in the back of the bus to make sure you've actually done that. Did your bus have anything like you just checked yourself?
We didn't even have air conditioning.
Oh.
We had the whole bus.
Wow. Well, I'm sure that was fun in South Georgia. Do you have a checklist or something that you had to sign off on each day to show that you had done that?
No, sir.
Okay, but it was just part of your normal routine. Okay. I have a note here that indicates, I think you answered a question about maybe having contact with someone anonymously online, maybe buying something or selling something, or Facebook. That sound familiar?
Yeah.
Do you know what that contact should be?
Well, I talk to people I don't know. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's absolutely. What reason would put you in contact with folks you don't know?
Just meeting different people. I mean, friends of friends and stuff
Okay.
like that.
I guess what we're trying to get at here is, would you go online to like either a chat room or just a place where there's just people hanging out online you just kind of talk to about common interest? Okay. And on Facebook, would you have ever see somebody else's post that you didn't know them personally, but maybe they were a friend of a friend, that you would have posted something to them about their post?
Yes.
Okay. Any time that you might be posting your particular opinion about something, other than nice picture or y'all look nice or anything like that, would you be like, whether it's political or social, or somebody's posted an article and you're commenting as to, here's what I think about it?
No, sir, I don't like to talk that much, so it's just nice or.
Something very quick. Okay,
Yes, sir.
fair enough. All right. As far as the any other folks around the courthouse other than your son, obviously, have you got to know any of the other folks either in the DA's office or here around the courthouse through him?
No, sir.
Okay.
He's introduced me to a couple of people, but I don't remember their names.
Sure.
I'm not a name person. I mean, just this is who I work with, something like that, you know.
I gotcha.
But
Now, I understood you to say that the John Bonet thing was on, but you were doing something else. It was just kind of in the background. What were you doing? Was it one of your hobbies or something?
was washing clothes.
Washing clothes. Well, not a fun hobby, but and do you have any sort of hobbies, things you'd like to do with your free time?
Well, I have a dog.
Okay.
Walk her and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I have plants I work with.
Okay. And did you grow up in this area, this particular area, or Wayne County, Glenn County area, or elsewhere? In Wayne County. All right. You had indicated maybe hearing a public service announcement about either children or animals being left in cars. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
What do you recall as far as how you heard that or what you heard?
Well, most of the time on Facebook, they got about, don't leave your dog or your pet in a hot car because the temperature is hotter there than it is outside.
Sure.
And how long, you know.
Did you were these like articles that you could click on and read?
Mine would click on the mail, but basically just the not your animal.
Just the statement. Okay. Have you either through Facebook or YouTube or any other fashion seen an actual article about that, kind of explaining that and going through in detail about what happens?
No, sir.
Okay. You said you do use YouTube. I think it was you. Did you say you use YouTube for music, listening to music? What sort of music do you like to listen to on there?
Country.
I'm sorry.
Oldies.
Okay. Well, oldies gets redefined, it seems. I used to think oldies were a long time ago, but that doesn't seem that way anymore. It's just my music. Okay. And your job with bus driving, do you have any sort of regular contact with parents of the kids on the bus, other than maybe just seeing them as they're dropping kids off at the bus stop?
Not really.
Okay. Okay.
Not unless they got in trouble or something, they didn't have meetings.
Okay, okay. Do you, that's good point. Do you have to, are you authorized to give either bus suspension or detention or anything to kids for acting up on the bus?
We could write them up and we had to carry it by the principal's office and then they would handle it.
Okay. Have you ever done that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has that ever caused you to get a call from a parent, hey, what's my kid doing? Okay. The parent's usually pretty good to back you on that to make sure we'll deal with that problem. Very good.
Some kids do no wrong in their parents' eyes.
Well, that's true. All right. I think that's all I have for right now. Thank you so much.
All right, sir. I have here that you were employed as a carpenter?
Yes.
Okay, you're retired now?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been retired?
3 years.
Okay. And your spouse is a house cleaner?
Yes.
Okay. How long has she been doing that type of work?
About 2 years now.
Okay. What did she do before that?
She was in the service industry, restaurants.
Okay. You have one daughter who's 13? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And y'all live in the Brunswick area?
Live in Windsor Park, yes.
Okay. All right. And now or at some time in the past, you have had some supervisory duties in your workplace where you also had hiring and firing ability?
Yes.
And was that in carpentry?
Yes, I had my own construction company for almost 20 years.
Okay. About how many employees would you have at any given time?
3 to 5.
Okay. And who do you know in the law enforcement field?
My little brother is, he's part of Homeland Security. He's an airline pilot.
Okay. And has that been his career?
Airline pilot,
Mhm.
but since 9/11 or 9/11, for him to be able to carry a weapon in the cockpit, he had to go to New Mexico and go through all the training.
Okay.
And then he took carry in Homeland Security.
Okay. What about military?
My father was a major in the Air Corps and Air Force, and my grandfather was a full bird colonel.
Okay.
World War I and II.
All right. And in the legal field, did you answer that question? Anybody that works in legal? Let me see how Mr. Boring asked it. I believe it was just generally, do you know someone? And if not, then I can just move on to the next one I may have written.
Yeah, we got a family attorney that
Okay.
he's been since he got out of law school in the late 60s.
Okay. And is that just for general family matters?
Yeah, okay. Just take care of all the legal stuff in the family.
Okay. Does his practice include any criminal practice? Whether or not that applies to your family, do you know, does he do criminal practice also?
I don't think so.
Okay. And you've previously served on a jury?
Yes.
Was it a criminal jury like this one where you were, okay. Do you recall what the nature of the charges were?
It was molestation.
Okay. Do you know about how long ago?
It was in the late 70s.
Do you recall whether you were able to reach a verdict?
Yes.
Were you the foreperson?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I have written down that you belong to a church or some type of religious organization?
Yes.
What?
Christ Church, Frederick, on St. Simon's.
Okay. And someone, you or actually this is directed specifically to you, some type of fraternal organization?
Well, yeah, I'm a member of the NRA.
Okay.
And the Georgia Volunteer Battalion.
All right. I don't have written down that you answered any of the questions about social media as far as a lot of responses, but I do have something that you've posted an opinion online in general. Is that accurate, or have I written that down wrong?
No, I've never posted an opinion online.
Do you have any kind of Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah, I got Facebook.
Okay. Pretty regular user of Facebook?
Yeah, fairly regular. I'm an amateur photographer, and
Oh, okay.
I'll post photographs,
What type of photography do you do?
mostly landscape and stills.
But the beach is a good subject for that.
Yes.
Okay. What about any of these Snapchat, Instagram, Whisper?
No.
Okay. Scout, have you ever heard of Scout? Okay. And
Facebook is it.
okay, just Facebook. And what about Craigslist? Do you ever buy or sell anything on Craigslist?
I went there one time trying to see if I could find a smoker.
Okay. Any luck with that? No.
Not right range.
No? Okay. All right. Legal TV shows. Do you have any that you watch regularly?
None.
Nothing? Okay, but I have written down that you have followed a trial at some point.
When I was in college, during classes, we followed OJ.
Okay. Pretty much everybody, it sounds like here, followed the OJ, the original OJ, way back when. I think it was that 94 maybe? 93, 94, 95, something like that?
So, anybody remember?
It's been a while. Okay, but nothing since then? Okay. Okay. And you know someone who's been arrested?
Yes.
Who would that be?
Well, I don't want, they're passed on now.
Okay, all right. Not comfortable talking about it. Okay. I understand. And do you know someone who has been court-martialed or subject to a court-martial?
I had a good friend of mine when he was in the Coast Guard at the Lighthouse.
The Coast Guard has been mentioned. Take note of this. A good friend in the Coast Guard, okay?
Well, he, because of something he did at the Lighthouse, he was brought before the Admiral.
I see. Well, we could have left that part out.
I was going to say, so much for the Coast Guard.
So much for it. But he was your good friend. Even after the incident at the lighthouse.
Oh, even a better friend.
See? So, good people are in the Coast Guard. All right. And at some point in your life, you have made a statement or written a statement to law enforcement about something that happened?
Oh, yeah, my truck, my wife's truck was broken into.
Okay. They ever catch the people that did it?
They think they did. It was going around the area, and they think they found it.
Another one of these where they were hitting a bunch of cars in the same area seems like a common thread.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I have a note here that unfortunately you or someone that you know has experienced the sudden death of a child.
Yes, my little sister.
Very sorry. At some point you've lived in Cobb County.
Yeah, lived in Mayredo.
Well, tell us about that, please.
Went to Southern Institute of Technology.
Okay. And about what years were those?
I went from 74, 75, and took a break and went back and finished up in 79 and 80.
Okay. And so the time that you lived in Cobb, was that mainly just for school, and once you graduated, you moved away, or did you stay for a while?
No, I came back.
Okay, so are you from this area?
Same time as you.
Okay. All right. And I think that is the end of the line for me at this point, but I know I have at least one thing we'll need to take up with you separately later, but I know that Mr. Lumpkin will have some questions to follow up here, okay? Thank you very much.
It sounds like this incident at the lighthouse, there might be a story behind that.
There's one heck of a story behind it.
I bet there is. Is it something that we can share at all here? Is it something that we should not share?
We could, see how my friend has crossed the river, as they say.
I see. And was this something that involved you and some other folks as well, or just something he was doing?
No.
Okay.
Just him. He was on duty.
I gotcha. And you said he, didn't understand, he actually faced a court martial, or it was?
He was brought before an Admiral's Mass.
Okay, all right. And what was the result of that?
He had a good talking down to.
I got you. He didn't get discharged or anything like that, but kind of told, here's what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. I got you. All right. And the reason I'm asking that is, were you involved in that process at all? Okay.
No.
Okay. And did that leave any hard feelings for you, or for your, really for you, as far as how the government treated him?
No.
Okay. All right. Have you posted anything online as far as an opinion of any sort, or commenting on other folks' stuff on Facebook, anything like that?
No.
Okay. You said you're from St. Simons originally, and your father was it the Army, U.S. Army?
He was in the Air Corps.
Air Corps. Okay. Did you move around a lot while you were younger, or? Okay.
No, he was discharged from regular service. He was discharged in 54.
Okay. All right. And so you've been in this area, you've seen it. I'm sure it's changed quite a bit over the time you've been here, obviously.
Since 1790.
All right. Have you ever moved away from here? Well, you're in Marietta, obviously, for school. Other than that, did you ever live away from this area?
Worked on a ranch in Montana for about 2 years.
Oh, really? Okay. How old were you then?
I was 25.
Okay. Was it just kind of a get away from here sort of thing to see somewhere new, or why?
Never had been there, so I just backed up and went one day.
Very good. Wow. All right. And I understand you say there's not any particular legal TV shows that you like to watch. Okay. Do you dislike legal TV shows, or they just don't matter one way or the other? More or less than we are. You don't have to answer that. Do you watch TV much?
Not a whole bunch, no.
Okay. Are there any particular shows that you do like to watch?
Comedies.
Okay. Okay. All right. You mentioned that you were a member of NRA, and I understood you say the Children's Volunteer Battalion?
Georgia.
The Georgia Volunteer Battalion. I got you.
Reenactment.
I got you. Is it a Civil War reenactment, or is it something else?
War Northern Aggression, yes.
Yes, there you go. How often do you do that?
Sometimes it might be once a month, sometimes every 2 or 3 months.
Okay. Do you ever come up to Kennesaw Mountain and take part in that, the one up there?
I've done everything from Gettysburg to Shiloh.
Oh, wow. Is it fair to say you're a historian of that time frame?
I've been a historian all my life, yes.
Did you ever serve in the military yourself?
Not myself, no.
Okay. And are you in a particular battalion where the same group of guys goes to different places and do the reenactments?
Yes.
Okay. How many are in that group?
About, in the battalion, about 300 active members.
Wow. And do you have a rank in that battalion?
Captain, Company A.
Very good. All right. And the business that you own, the construction company, how long did you operate that company?
About 20 years.
Okay. And what caused you to get out of that business?
Well, after my unfortunate accident, I can't be around real dusty environments.
Right. Okay. And were you like having a wood shop where you're creating cabinets and that sort of thing? Or?
I was a finished carpenter for the last 30 years of my career, yes.
Wow. And the accident that you had, was that on the job?
No.
Okay. Other than not being able to do that work, it doesn't appear as though it slowed you down much.
No, not a lick.
Very good. And you have a 13-year-old daughter, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is that the only child that you have?
Yes.
Okay. And there was a question that was asked about, maybe I think it's when she was younger, carried her around in a car seat, and she was one of these that would sleep pretty well in the car seat.
No, she cranked the car up and back out the highway.
I gotcha. And did you ever have, were you responsible for transporting her pretty regularly when she was that age?
Yes.
You mentioned that you were familiar with some public service announcements that talk about this issue that we're dealing with here, of children and animals being left in cars. Is this just a general memory you have of having heard this over the years, or do you have a particular memory of hearing that recently?
Just hasn't seen a public service announcement on like television.
Okay. Have you ever looked beyond that, ever looked into any reports or articles or websites kind of talking about how this happens, that people forget animals or children in cars?
No.
I think you said that during college y'all were watching the OJ trial a good bit. Did you come away from that, watching that, with any particular ideas about attorneys particularly, or the judicial system?
It didn't affect me one way or the other.
Okay. Had you had any other direct dealings with the judicial system prior to that?
Not really, no.
Okay. And I guess really what I'm asking is, did you already have an opinion about what it is that we do for a living, good or bad?
Never gave it much thought.
Very good. And I take it you did, as far as your business goes, other than maybe having an attorney to set up the business, did you have to deal with attorneys at all in your work?
No, not after, I went through and got it incorporated.
Sure, sure.
Didn't really know.
Very good. And did you work just in this general area doing carpentry, or were you all over the state, or?
No, it was just Sea Island, Cumberland Island, and
I gotcha.
mainland.
Okay. And when you said you're a finished carpenter, does that mean you would kind of come into someone's house and redo things for them that they need done?
I would do all of the stuff you see.
I gotcha. Very good. Did you have any formal training in that at all?
I started when I was 16.
Okay. With another carpenter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just kind of on-the-job training, basically?
Yes, the old man took me under his wing.
Okay. All right. Other than what you've already told us, anything else that you do with your free time these days?
I hike.
Hike? Okay.
Big hiker.
Like Appalachian Trail hiking, or?
Parts of it. I've never through hiked.
Okay. All right, I think that's all for right now. We'll handle those other matters when we get a chance one-on-one. Thank you.
Lots of people from the school system on the panel here. So you lasted through 4 principals, which actually doesn't seem like that's that many for 34 years. So they held on for a bit for the, yeah. Okay, so I think I heard you say earlier when you answered Mr. Boring's question initially that it was most or all in middle school?
All in middle school.
That is a tough group.
Age level, yes it is.
A lot of things happening with people that age and those grades. So you did that. Let's see, Glenn County Schools. Anything before that?
When I got out of college, I worked for 2 years in Washington, D.C., FBI, Identification Division. Then from that point on, got married shortly after and had one child.
So FBI, tell us about that if you can.
Well, yes, I only worked in the division with fingerprinting.
Okay.
It was interesting.
All right.
The city was interesting.
A lot of traffic.
Quite a bit.
All right. And I also have a note that your husband has passed.
That's good.
Very sorry. He was a criminal attorney?
Civil and criminal here in Brunswick, yes.
Okay, so general shop, did a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Okay. And over the years, did he ever mention anything about cases he was working on or anything about the law specific to what we've got in this case?
No.
Okay. Anything about his position or his career and anything he may have mentioned to you that would influence you in any way to be fair and impartial in this case?
No, he always told me you go by evidence.
Okay.
Because I've been a juror several times, and evidence was everything to him.
Okay. Sounds like very good advice. All right, so knowing anyone else in the court system, is that obviously your husband, and then you probably have friends?
Friends. Well, we are all, I'm from Savannah. Ron was also from Savannah, so he joined partnership with 2 other Savannaians, and they came here and formed a corporation of law.
And in law enforcement, any friends or family members?
I had a family member of Savannah Police.
Currently or formerly?
Formerly.
How long ago did he or she leave?
Many years ago, 30, 35.
Okay. What about military?
My father, Navy.
And criminology and legal, does that all kind of lump together with your husband and your friends and all that kind of thing? Okay, and let's talk about that prior jury service. How many times?
This is my 3rd time.
Right.
First time was federal court, criminal case. Second time was civil case. This is, as I say, this is my 3rd experience with jury duty.
Right. And that federal criminal case, what is the nature of the charges?
Murder.
And without telling me anything else about the case, were you able to reach a verdict?
Yes, we did.
Were you the foreperson?
Yes, I was.
And in the civil case, were you able to reach a verdict in that one as well?
Yes, we did.
Were you also the foreperson there? And what church or religious organization do you belong to?
Episcopal, St. Athanasius Episcopal Church, located in a monk in Albany, here in town.
Delving into your social media a little bit, things you like to do. Starting with Facebook, the most obvious one. Do you use Facebook?
I do.
Is that something that you do daily, pretty regularly?
Yes, 2 or 3 times
No.
a day.
Okay. Some of these younger people may do it 2 or 3 times a minute, or 2 or 3 times an hour, but so at least 2 or 3 times a day you're getting on to see what's going on. Is it mostly friends or family, or do you have
Family, friends, finding out what's going on in my neighborhood,
Okay.
crime-wise.
Okay. You have like a neighborhood watch or something?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And ever post any comments or opinions or anything like that, the articles you find, that kind of thing? What about Craigslist? You ever bought or sold or perused Craigslist for anything? And do you have a Twitter account? Do you tweet anything out?
No.
No tweeting going on. All right, what about Snapchat?
I don't know what that is.
All right.
It's not pictures, but that's it.
Okay. What about Instagram? Kind of the same thing. Nothing to do with that? All right. YouTube. You ever get on YouTube and look at any videos?
Well, sometimes I get on YouTube. I also go to the Y fairly often, and one of our instructors did some recording, and I'll go and watch our show and dance
Okay.
in my house by myself.
You've just outed yourself. All right. Sounds like fun. And a couple others, let me just run these by you. You probably haven't heard of them, but I want to double check. Whisper. Scout, that's S-K-O-U-T. What about Kick? No. All right. Legal TV shows. Do you have any that you like to watch regularly? I've got a note here that you answered something about that.
Law and Order. Tom Selleck's show that comes on every day.
Oh.
I can't think of the name of it now, but I love that show as well.
We had another Tom Selleck fan in here before, and she watched the show just for Tom Selleck.
I know, it's really good. And I like the family atmosphere. You know, everybody working pretty much for the same organization. I do.
Well, now let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to friend Tom Selleck on Facebook? Because the other juror made that attempt. So, yes, no, never try to do that. Okay. You might now. It's an option. All right. I think if you get on Twitter, you might be able to tweet something to him. I might be stating that wrong. I know just enough to be dangerous. So, all right. Okay. And what about any reality legal shows, anything like that? Any talk shows or?
No, I listened to Dr. Phil the other day, and he was interviewing John Bonet's brother. Except for that, you know, I did watch the entire hour of that, and then I think it followed up the following day, the next day, but I didn't get the opportunity to see that.
Gotcha.
But I was interested.
Okay. Your volunteer work with children?
Yes, every Wednesday afternoon, 3 to 5, Boys and Girls Club at Glen Villa.
What types of things do you do with them on Wednesdays?
We read. Two other members of my church and myself, so it's really 3 of us. And we get together and we read, and most of the times here lately, they've been wanting to read to us. Now, they're in kindergarten, first and second, but they'll go through the pages and they'll tell their own stories.
They add some details in there. Gotcha. All right. And you've cared for someone in the past?
My dad's 92, currently, of course, living, and I spent a lot of time back and forth to Savannah, which is where I was reared, born. So I'm the only living family member, so I take up a lot of time. Luckily, he's been in pretty good shape.
That's good to hear.
Lives by himself. He does well.
Takes care of himself. All right. That's great. And at some point, you've had the occasion to give a statement to law enforcement about something?
I did. I can't remember what that was. Law enforcement?
Just police, anything? Had to make a report of something or nothing of that nature? Well, I could just mark right through that. So I don't need to cover that. And I think actually, besides maybe one other thing I'll need to take up with you in private, I think that concludes the questions that I have. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Ms. Y. It's strange to just use letters, but we're trying to keep it somewhat to ourselves. I want to talk to you a little bit about your husband's work, doing criminal work. He was here in Brunswick, correct? And did you have occasion to ever come to court to watch him from time to time?
No, I did not.
Okay. And did you ever do any work in his office at all?
Some, yes, typing. I did
Okay.
some typing
Okay.
on typewriters, and that's what he had at the time.
Right. And did you ever have interaction with his clients?
Sometimes I did.
Okay.
Rarely.
Okay. Would he ever speak to you about his frustration with the legal system at all in doing that sort of work? He did.
Oftentimes he was frustrated.
Okay. Did he try many cases? Was he in court in trials very often?
I think he did. I think they did. Yes.
Okay.
Quite a few cases.
All right. And would you notice his stress level being worse during those times, or his frustration level being worse during those times?
Criminal trials, yes, I could see it was escalated.
Okay. And would he come home and just kind of tell you things that would be happening during the day and
Normally, no. That was family time.
kept that separate? Very good. And I believe I've heard his name before, frankly, and he and other partners had a pretty good practice down here for a while. Is that fair to say? Okay. I think you indicated there are some law enforcement personnel that you know. Is that correct?
Well, one of my, law enforcement, yes, husband's partners has since came to be a judge, which recently retired.
Okay.
As I said, they all were from Savannah.
Right.
All three of the fellas were from Savannah. Yes.
And are you from Savannah originally?
I am.
Okay. You just have that sound and tone of a good old Savannah. The federal case that you sat on, do you recall when that was? How long ago that was?
Long time ago. Over 15, 16, 17 years.
Okay. But it was in Savannah at the federal courthouse there?
No, it was here.
Oh, it was here. Okay. I'm sorry. At the federal courthouse here, down the road here? Okay. I didn't know they actually tried cases there. Okay. And you were the foreperson of that jury. All right. How was that? Were you pleased with how that process went?
Yes, I was pleased to answer that question.
Okay.
It was my first experience as far as jury duty in coming from Savannah and coming from a very close-knit family. I had problems, you know, I didn't have any problems as far as evidence was concerned.
Right.
But I always had a problem of determining other people's destiny.
I gotcha.
Maybe that's the church part of me, I don't know.
Sure.
But quite frankly, I'm like that today.
Okay. And was that a lengthy case? In other words, like more than a week, less than a week?
I mean, it wasn't any more than a week.
Okay. And you said that your husband's mantra was go by the evidence. And I take it that's something you heard him say pretty often.
Pretty often.
All right. And would you say, were you...
The one that calmed me down with the federal case, just go by what you hear, you know, the attorneys present.
Okay.
That made it a whole lot easier.
Very good. Did you either personally or maybe from your husband's influence, were you what you consider a skeptical person? In other words, it wouldn't be enough just for somebody to say something, but you want to see some actual physical evidence to back it up?
Yes, I would like to see evidence to back it up. Yes.
Okay. All right. And the church that you attend, I understand you say it's an Episcopal church, and you said something about Albany.
Moncton, Albany is where it's located.
The street right here? Okay. That's what I thought you were talking about. Do you hold an office or teach a group or lead in any way there?
No, I recently came off vestry in December.
Okay.
So I'm off for a year, possibly to get back on it. Not currently. No.
I gotcha. Have you done that many times over the years?
Really good.
I thought. All right. I believe you've also indicated that you're familiar with some public service announcements dealing with either children or animals that are forgotten in cars. Is there a particular memory you have of that, or just know you've heard it over the years?
I've just heard it over the years, and I am a dog lover, and I cannot imagine anybody leaving a dog in a car.
I gotcha. Have you ever read reports about that? Even police officers sometimes doing that?
No.
No? Do you have a dog now?
No.
Okay.
I want one, but I travel to Savannah too often, so.
I gotcha.
No, but I'm thinking about volunteering at the shelter.
Okay. Very good. Is that pretty much how you spend your time out, just kind of volunteering and doing the different things you'd like to impact?
Pretty much been taking care, going back and forth to Savannah.
For your mother and your dad, okay.
Cook, go to dinner, stuff like that. So pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Enjoying retirement.
Well, good for you. And so the kids that you read to at the Boys and Girls Club, these are kindergartners or second graders?
Kindergarten, first and second.
I gotcha. How long have you been doing that?
Volunteering, I think this is my 4th year.
Okay.
Started in our church, and then we moved it to Glenvilla Boys and Girls Club. And
Okay.
we have much more children now that will participate in it.
Okay. So it's originally really a church ministry.
Right. Yes.
They all just kind of partnered with the Boys and Girls Club. I gotcha. Does that cause you to come into contact at all with their parents?
No.
Okay.
We have our little room in the back. The only kind of contact we come with parents is when they come pick them up, and sometimes they'll come to the door.
I gotcha.
But,
Okay.
no.
But not interacting that much. Okay. All right. I think, oh, there was one other thing about I think you answered the question about child seats and maybe your children when they were younger. Were there child seats and the sleepers?
My son was a little like his daughter. Whenever we would put him in the car.
Right.
In fact, many a times we said, let's take Damien for a ride in the car. We knew that would knock him out.
Wow. My goodness. I drove around 2 counties in South Georgia one night trying to get my son to sleep, and it did not work. Okay. Did you ever take your son to daycare or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
All right. Hey, let me just follow up just briefly about that. Would that be, were you the one primarily responsible for that, for taking him to daycare?
No, mostly his dad did.
Okay.
He would normally go in around 9, and I had to be work at 8.
I got
But
you.
I would pick him up in the afternoon.
Okay. Good. Did y'all have a pretty set routine as to how he got prepared, or did you just kind of, you went to work and Dad was responsible to get him up and going?
So, yeah, you know, I was dressing and
Okay. So you got him up and going to start with. All right. Have you traveled to the Atlanta area very often?
No, I have 2 first cousins living there.
Right.
But no, I don't travel anymore. I used to, but
Okay.
not any longer.
All right. I think that's all we have for right now then. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Juror 19. So you didn't answer very many questions, so this probably won't take long.
That's what I told everybody. I said, I'll be in 5 minutes, so.
You are the speed juror at the end of the day here, so I think we'll get through this very quickly. So you stayed home with your children.
I did.
Because like you have the task right now of having you have a son who's about to be a teenager, and then a 14-year-old son, and then a 10-year-old girl.
Yes,
That's a house full.
yes.
So I'm sure that is definitely a full-time job. And your husband is self-employed.
He is.
Does he work for a steakhouse?
No, we own Millhouse.
Okay. And where is that?
Brunswick, Statesboro, Jacksonville, and Kingsland.
Oh, there's several of them.
4.
Okay. Well, he stays busy.
24/7,
Yeah.
never see it. Yes.
Right. And at some point, you have had management responsibilities, hiring and firing?
When we first moved to Glenn County 15 years ago, I opened a tanning salon.
Okay.
And I had 6 high school girls that worked for me. So, yeah.
Bet that was fun.
Very entertaining.
And who do you know in the legal field?
Nobody.
Okay. Keep having that
Not
happen.
here. I'm from Coffee County.
Oh, okay. So not necessarily here. So I didn't get that wrong. That maybe you do have some people distant, but not.
Just kind of know some people in
Sure.
Coffee County, but not really. The Prestons, I did an internship with them before I graduated from Valdosta State.
And the Prestons are.
Attorneys.
Okay. Is that like a family practice?
It is.
Is it criminal?
I think they do a little bit of everything.
Ever do anything like what we've got here? Ever?
You know what, it's been so long ago, I don't remember.
Just don't recall.
And I've sat in on a couple of cases, and I can't even tell you what they were. I was thinking last night, and I couldn't even come up with anything.
Okay.
I was like, I don't even know.
So nothing about anything you were exposed to there where you've been sitting here this week and thinking, oh, well, that reminds me of this or that, or nothing. All right. What about legal TV shows? Which ones do you like?
My son, we watch NCIS. That's about it.
All right.
We definitely take that one.
Okay. All right. And you know someone who's been arrested?
My ex-brother-in-law. He is serving time in Jessup. I'm not sure if that's federal or I don't know what that one is.
Do you generally know the nature of the offense, or?
Oh, I do.
Okay, tell us.
He actually is serving time now for a probation
Oh, sure.
thing, but originally he was on probation for getting caught with a meth lab that he was making meth in his, yes.
Okay. Very dangerous.
That's why he's an ex.
Yeah. Good, you got away from that one.
I didn't, my sister did. That's all hers.
And you've testified before?
Oh, no.
No.
Wait a minute.
Well, witness, you've been a witness for something?
Yes, a car accident.
Okay.
Probably 20-something years ago.
Was that something that you yourself were in the car accident, or you witnessed something that
I was in
happened?
the car and someone hit us, and then they contested the police report.
Okay.
So we had to go before a judge.
And is that the incident where you had to give a statement and all that kind of
Well,
thing?
no, I
or?
had to give a statement where, like everyone else, my vehicle's been broken into.
That's a lot. There's a problem down here with that.
Yes.
About how long ago?
It was one of the nights when the Giants won the Super Bowl. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I'm not sure whenever one of the last times they won.
Okay. I don't know if any of y'all are neighbors. It might be the same crew, just getting all of you at the same time.
So,
All right. And I know there was one thing that we needed to talk about with you privately, but other than that, that's all that I have. So I'll just follow up and just say, I know you're very busy and you never get to see your husband. You probably don't have any time for yourself, but if you did, what would you be doing?
I'm at the gym all the time.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When you don't answer a lot of questions, I take it as a challenge to just come up with anything we can think of to ask you. So. It sounds like you got a lot of entrepreneurial spirit in you. You started a tanning salon. Did you start this restaurant too, or is that?
That's how we stay married.
I got you. I got you. Okay. Very good. And where is this Millhouse Steakhouse?
We have one in Brunswick.
Yeah, the one that's here. Where is that? The one that's here?
The one that's here is right off of exit 38.
Okay.
It's in front of the Holiday Inn.
Very good. How long will it take to get there from here at 5 o'clock?
10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Perfect. Very good. Making plans. Everybody got that? You know where it is, at 10 minutes away. All right. You said your husband takes care of that. Do you work in the restaurant at all at this point? Okay. And do you still own the tanning salon?
No, I sold it after about 5 years. He started opening more restaurants.
I got
you. We don't have family here.
Right.
And so I don't leave my children anywhere. So
I got you.
Salon, so
Stay with them.
Yeah.
Very good. And you're from Douglas originally? Is that right? Is that where your husband's from also?
no, he's from upstate New York, around
Okay.
the Lake George area.
Oh, okay. You got to here through his business or through your business, or what brought you here?
He was originally with Ruby Tuesdays for 20 years. And
Okay.
they moved him here to open one of the restaurants.
Okay. Right. And do you have a business degree or any sort of formal education in business?
I have a 4-year legal assistance paralegal degree from
Okay.
Boston State.
I'm sorry, from Valdosta State?
Valdosta
Okay.
Mhm.
And have you ever worked as a paralegal? Okay. Did you have?
But I paid student loans.
Oh, absolutely. Did you ever consider going to law school or have a dream of doing that at some point?
No,
Okay.
no.
Did somebody hoodwink you saying paralegal would be fun?
No, I had started out in criminal justice.
Okay.
And then when Valdosta State switched over to a university.
Right.
I lost a lot of credits, and so I just completely switched.
I gotcha. What was your plan with the criminal justice degree? Were you going to do law enforcement or anything like that, or just sounded fun?
It just sounded fun.
Okay. Did you ever take any forensic classes?
I did not.
Okay.
No.
Any classes that dealt specifically with criminal law? Okay. Do you remember what those were by any chance? Okay.
I don't.
They're real exciting though, weren't they?
Well, it's been about 20 years, so no, I can't tell you. I still have some of my textbooks. but
Okay.
They're in the attic, I think.
Fair enough. All right. What made you open up the tanning salon then?
Just, I wanted something to do. I was in a new town.
Okay.
With nobody here.
Okay.
And it was me and my husband and a 4-month-old.
Okay.
So I just wanted something to do that I could take in with me.
Did you have anybody in your family before that owned their own business or started their own business?
No, my dad farmed all his life.
Really?
No.
Okay. Are you what we might consider a very independent person then? You able to just kind of take care of yourself, do things on your own? Or do you not think of yourself that way?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
I guess I would do, yeah.
Excuse me. Have you had a job where you were working for somebody else or working with a team to accomplish a project at all?
I worked at the newspaper in Douglas.
Okay.
With my mom and both of my sisters.
Okay. What'd you do?
We inserted the papers.
Okay.
Put them together.
Right, right.
We did that for 7 or 8 years, just some extra money, and it helped me get through some part of school.
Okay. Are you involved in any sort of group activities now that you work with a team to get anything done? No?
No.
Do you think you get along with other people pretty well?
No.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
No.
Do you find it frustrating trying to work with other folks who don't agree with you?
No, I just, I like things done a certain way,
Okay.
and when people start straying from that, I don't like it.
Okay. Very good. Obviously, in this environment, you've got two sides who are going to be putting up things for both sides. Do you feel like you'll be able to kind of wait until the very end and listen to all of that before you make a decision, or would you get frustrated?
Oh, no, I could listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and you have teenage children now, 10, 12, 14. And I think you indicated that there's a point in time that you left the business to be with them. Did you have, was there any point in time that they were in daycare or anything that you'd be transporting them to daycare, or were you the one who took care of them at those ages?
They went to Lakeside Methodist, which was like
A day school?
yeah.
Okay.
They started when they were young, like 2.
Okay.
Each one of them went to it, so yeah.
And was that every day of the week or 3 days a week?
It was 3 days a week.
Okay. And you were the one primarily responsible, or maybe solely responsible, for getting them there and back? Okay. Are there ages such that you would have 2 of them or even 3 of them at one time, transporting them around?
Yes.
Okay. And did y'all have car seats involved in all that? All right, we'll probably follow up with that more detailed a little bit later. I have some indication of some legal TV shows. Have you indicated that's not your thing, or are there?
Well, the NCIS, we
NCIS.
watched that.
Okay.
And I did remember when y'all were talking about if you watch trials.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many years ago it was, but it was when I had the tennis on. I watched the one with Scott somebody.
Peterson, out in
Yeah,
California?
I did watch that one.
Okay. And was that simply because it was on in the tanning salon? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would have looked for it, you know,
Okay.
if it was something else.
Did you have an opinion as to whether or not he was guilty or not?
Toward the end, I probably did.
Okay.
You know, I was happy with the ending.
Okay. It's kind of an unusual case in some ways.
It was.
Okay.
I think that's why I watched it. It was so weird.
Okay. Did that impress you one way or the other as far as the attorneys involved in the case, two sides, how they worked?
I remember I thought they both did very well.
Okay.
I don't. Other than that, I don't.
Okay. You didn't come away saying those stinking
No.
defense attorneys or prosecutors, anything like that?
I didn't feel like they painted it bad either way.
Okay.
It was just the truth was there.
Very good. And for either of your businesses, have you had to work with attorneys?
My husband does.
He does? Okay. All right. Okay. One other thing I want to ask you about, the brother-in-law I know there's a federal prison in Jessup, but you're not sure if it's federal or if it's state.
Almost 100% sure that he's in federal.
Okay,
He's
all
been
right.
there almost 10 years. He gets out this year.
Okay, that sounds exactly right. Did he have a trial, do you know?
No.
Okay. And was this situation, was it something in their home?
It was a building on his property, by his home.
Okay. Was there any concern that there was some danger to his family with that being close by, or was it far enough away that?
My sister had already divorced him and
I
moved
gotcha.
her and her child away from him.
I gotcha.
So I'm really not sure.
Fair enough. Okay. All right, I think that's all we have for now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good. Our time is good. We'll break for the dates. Come back at 9 in the morning. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with each other, with other people. Don't let anyone speak with you about the case. Have no contact with the attorneys, parties, or witnesses to the case. Don't let yourself be exposed to anything regarding this case outside of this courtroom. So no media, no computers, no internet, no anything that you think of that you could possibly get the info from. Don't do it. How about that? I don't know how I can say it any more plainly. Don't do it. As my mother would say, don't do it. And one thing to do, have a very pleasant evening. We'll see you at 9 in the morning. 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. No matter what the traffic's like, it can't be like at home. 3 miles can take you 20 minutes at home. Yeah.
Welcome to the Golden Miles. We're not that bad.
Yes.
Except for when the folks don't see.
But her restaurant is good.
So get the scallop trash can very good restaurant.
Her restaurant's good.
I have nothing to do with it, but thank you. I can't cook.
All righty. Anything for the state before we recess?
I do have, we received the actual mailed certified copy regarding the juror we brought before, Mr. CG. I think it was juror 6 on the first panel. So I was just tender a certified copy at this time, showing it to the defense attorney. They're actually seeing the PDF version.
Is that from Gwinnett County?
It is, Judge.
Okay.
Judge, I believe I'm marking this as State's Exhibit, is it J3? Yes. I'm tendering it now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What else needs to be done?
Nothing else from the state.
He's been excused, right?
Yes, Judge. He already. I think we were just waiting on that confirmation.
Yeah.
I think he has been excused.
Well, then that takes care of this. He stands excused based on this.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
No, ma'am.
Everyone have a good evening.